The Knights of the Zodiac shine and marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, Blood Splashing from a Finger. When Li Bing woke up, she found herself in a low building, with a dozen children of her age lying in a mess. Outside, a group of vicious gangsters surrounded her. Several older children were curled up on the ground and groaned in pain. The gangsters hugged their arms and joked, "You still want to run after coming here? I can't beat your shit, so I'll count it as clean shit." Li Bing quietly shrank back. She knew that she couldn't stand out in this situation. Although she learned a little kung fu from her brother, she couldn't be a match for these gangsters. Not only were they numerous, but they also had guns. Hiss! A child behind her couldn't help but take a breath when Li Bing touched the wound on his arm. Li Bing turned around and saw a little black-haired girl with particularly large eyes because of her thinness. "Are you okay?" Li Bing asked in a low voice. The little girl shook her head and said nothing. Seeing that the gangsters over there didn't look over, Li Bing continued, "My name is Li Bing. What's your name?" "Dan," the big-eyed little girl said softly. "Egg?" Li Bing blinked. "Then I'll call you Egg, and you can call me Bing Bing." This is an abandoned mine in the suburbs. In the modeled office, a fierce quarrel is taking place. The two parties in the quarrel are the Lankoff brothers and lawyer Natalie Rushman. "Mr. Lankoff, I want to solemnly protest. Although we promised to help you deal with the Bennu bird Huiyu, we have an agreement. Before that, you must stop all human trafficking. What you are doing now is a disrespect for the agreement." Natalie slapped her hands on the table, and the waves surged. Anatoly spread his hands. "Lawyer Rushman, that's just an agreement. If you want to get in touch with the big client behind us, sit down obediently. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what I will do." "Are you threatening me?" Natalie folded her hands in front of her chest, and her cleavage became deeper. Anatoly grinned. "I'm just reminding you and inviting you at the same time. I wonder if you would be willing to go out for a midnight snack with me after this is done?" "Humphrey, there shouldn't be too many people who want to invite me." "I'm afraid you don't have the ability." Natalie turned to look at Vladimir, who was silent beside her. "Are you so sure that the man will come tonight?" Vladimir nodded. "He has only appeared in this city twice, each time when we received the goods, either specifically targeting us or our business. I made such a big fuss. I believe he will show up tonight." Natalie was about to speak when her headphones suddenly rang. After listening, she turned to look at Vladimir. "You guessed right, he showed up. I hope you are well prepared." "Where are your people?" Vladimir asked with his chin raised. "They will be in place soon," Natalie said and turned to walk out of the office. This abandoned mine used to be a quarry. The huge mountain next to it was half hollowed out. There were several open-air warehouses and some low buildings around it. Lazia flew over the quarry and locked onto Li Bing's location from a distance, a low bungalow next to the mountain. Next to the bungalow was a steep mountain, which did not look solid. A random grenade could collapse a piece of it and bury the entire bungalow below. Although there were not many people on the open space below, Lazia's keen five senses could sense that there were many people hiding nearby. Seeing Lazia appear, a man in a wheelchair appeared next to the bungalow. "Hey, braided boy, do you still recognize your grandfather?" Lazia looked down. Even in the dark, he could see the man's face clearly, but he didn't have any impression of him. The wheelchair man was asking for trouble, and his face drooped instantly. "HMPH, Grandpa's two legs are thanks to you. Today I must return this humiliation to you twice. Those children are in this house. Grandpa now orders you to roll down, otherwise I will blow them up to the sky and you won't be able to save anyone." The wheelchair man took out a small object from his arms and put his hand on it. It seems that he is not lying. The distance between the two is about 50 meters. If Lazia dives at the speed of sound with all his strength, he can rush to the wheelchair man in a few tenths of a second. Lazia didn't believe that the wheelchair man could have such a fast reaction speed, but he didn't dare to gamble. Anyway, Li Bing's position has been determined, and Jiazu feels that her condition is also normal, so there is no need to take risks. The wheelchair man raised the remote control and shouted again, "Get down for Grandpa." Take off your ugly armor, you make me sick, you son of the beach. Lazia landed, and the black clothes slowly retreated, revealing the sportswear inside, as well as his face. With a whoosh, the doors of the surrounding buildings opened, and countless armed bandits appeared at the doorways and on the hillside, aiming their guns at Lazia's body. In addition to submachine guns, they also had many grenade launchers. On the top of the mountain in the distance, the sniper's crosshairs were also aimed at Lazia's head. Haha, kid, you were just walking into a trap. What been you bird? Bah. Without armor defense, you're still a dead bird. The wheelchair man stretched out his hand and shouted, fire. Bullets and flames poured out, and grenades flew out densely. The sniper on the top of the mountain also pulled the trigger without hesitation. Boom. Before the bullet hit him, a ball of gas exploded at the location where Lazia was. The wheelchair man only felt a flash in front of his eyes, and a figure had appeared beside him, and a hand like an iron hoop grabbed his wrist. Crack. The wrist was bent back 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Before the wheelchair man could scream, his head was completely smashed. He crushed the remote control with one hand, and Lazia's voice disappeared again. When everyone heard the explosion and looked towards the wheelchair man, Lazia was no longer there. The explosion continued in the venue. Every time an explosion sounded, several lives were taken away, including the sniper on the top of the mountain. Although Lazia's speed was not faster than the bullet of a sniper rifle, his reaction speed was much faster than that of a sniper. The last time he faced the Russian mafia, Lazia did not kill them, but only crippled them. Although they still couldn't escape death in the end, at least Lazia's heart was still kind. This time, Lazia didn't plan to hold back. Every time he appeared, his fingers would point at the heads of the gangsters. At the speed of sound, one finger was enough to blow up all their heads. Facts have proved that in front of a true Saint Seiya, no matter how many ordinary people there are, they cannot pose a threat to him with conventional weapons, unless they have precision-guided weapons with high lethality that break the speed of sound. For example, the legendary Dongfeng Express. Chapter 52. Don't push me. Going crazy. The roar of explosions and screams rang out one after another, and dust fell from the roof. Everyone in the bungalow, including the arrogant social people, was trembling with fear. Lo Bing held Dandan in his arms, touched her hair and kept comforting her. It's okay, my brother will definitely come to save us, you have to believe me. Dandan didn't believe the brother she had never met. She shrank in Lo Bing's arms and asked timidly, we don't even know where this is. How do you know that your brother will find this place? Lo Bing said firmly, don't worry about it, I just know it. The roar outside stopped, and Lazia flashed in front of the bungalow and stretched out his hand to pull the door. Before his hand touched the door handle, Lazia suddenly became alert and dodged back. Whoosh! A black arrow passed in front of him and shot straight at the door handle. With a bang, the entire wooden door and the half-cement wall beside the door frame were shot into pieces. Several gangsters in the bungalow were like frightened birds, raising their pistols and shooting at the gap. Lazia dodged to the side and avoided the dense bullets. The magazine of the pistol was very small, and 3 or 5 gangsters had used up the magazine in a short while. They huddled in the house and dared not come out. Their instinct told them that it was safest to stay with those children. Lazia turned and looked in the direction where the black arrow came from. This arrow was exactly the same as the one he had seen before. Obviously, the person who shot the arrow was Hawkeye. I didn't expect to see you again so soon, Patton. Do you want to die so much? Lazia opened his hands, and the black ink clothes attached to his body. Then, with a bang, he exploded and turned into a flash of lightning and rushed in the direction of the black arrow. The man was in midair, and suddenly a strong sense of crisis came from beside him. In the office, Anatoly had a ferocious look on his face. Ha ha ha, go to hell. A ball of fire rose from the top of the mountain next to him. The fire was so fast that it crossed a distance of thousands of meters in almost an instant and flew in front of Lazia. Lazia was flying in the air, and the huge inertia made it impossible for him to dodge flexibly. His body had already been locked. Seeing that there was no escape, Lazia was also a bachelor. He twisted his waist and exerted force in the air, and hit the object in the fire with his fist. Trapped in a small universe, the fire suddenly exploded in the air. After a long time, a loud noise was heard. The huge shock wave rolled up the nearby dust and swung around like a huge sandstorm. Watching the fire explode, Anatoly laughed almost crazily. Ha ha ha. Bennu bird glow? Bah. I'll send you to hell to be a Bennu bird. No need to thank me. On a rooftop, Black Widow folded her arms and said softly, I didn't expect that they could get the small anti-aircraft missiles of Stark Industries. Who is behind them? I don't know. Barton sighed in the headset. I can't imagine what the result would be if they fired missiles from here at the World Trade Center. Black Widow responded, we will soon see their backers. By then, there will be a way to catch them all in one fell swoop. It is our responsibility to surround the country's security. I'm afraid it's not over yet. Barton didn't want Black Widow to be as optimistic as she was. That person won't die so easily. This time, he gave me a much more terrifying feeling than the last time we met. If I have anything, please help me greet Laura and the others in the future. What are you talking about? Black Widow hasn't finished her words yet, and she saw a ball of fire rushing towards the location where the anti-aircraft missiles were placed. Not dead yet. Seeing this, Anatoly pressed several buttons in his hand, and the remaining 5 missiles on the launcher were instantly launched. One missile can't kill you. Then I'll give you a few more and let you watch the fireworks for free. The anti-aircraft missiles produced by Stark Industries have a speed of more than Mach 5, which is faster than ordinary Silver Saints, and have a precise guidance system. It is impossible for Lazia to dodge with his speed, and with Lazia's current physical fitness, he can't use his body to resist the bombardment of missiles. After all, this is not the mythical world where the Saint Seiya is located. Even if he becomes a Saint Seiya, Lazia's body is still a human body, and he will be troubled by birth, aging, illness and death, and will be hurt by cold weapons and hot weapons. Without the protection of the holy clothes, he will still fart if he is directly hit by a missile. Friends who say that the Saint Seiya candidate can penetrate the earth, please stop using a fan work G with a wonderful style to make a fuss. Candidates are really that awesome, and Shenlongba's ability is limited to making the waterfall flow backwards. Don't you see? When the Silver Saint demolition team demolished the Gorado Arena, they still smashed some of the interiors bit by bit with meteor hammers and discs, but the main structure was still preserved. See Tencent Comics Chapter 27 Fierce Battle. Gold cloth volume for details. This is the original setting. Okay, the truth is that although Lazia's physical fitness is far superior to that of ordinary people, he can punch with a force of more than 1 ton and run at a speed of 100 meters per second with his physical strength alone. But if he does not have the protection of the microcosm, his body will still be hurt by conventional cold weapons and hot weapons. Therefore, facing 5 anti-aircraft missiles, Lazia did not dare to fight hard. Seeing that the missile was about to collide with the flying flames, a firebird suddenly flew out of the flames and directly detonated the missile. The violent explosion blew Lazia away, who was close at hand. Although he was not directly hit by the missile, the shockwave generated by the close-range explosion still shook him away, and rushed to the mountain next to him like a stream, smashing a hole in the mountain. Half of the mountain slid down, and the small bungalow was almost buried. The social man who was watching over the children ran out of the bungalow, but before he could run far, he was pierced in the chest by the ice fangs shot from the air. With a whoosh, Lazia fell from the mountain. The flames on his body dissipated, and Mo Yi had completely disappeared. His body was covered in dirt and blood. When he blew up the first missile in the air with his fist, his body was already injured, and his entire right arm almost lost its intuition. Mo Yi's defense was indeed not enough. The 5 consecutive explosions just now, the high temperature in the air waves made his head numb, and the final impact made his body seem to fall apart. Looking down at the miserable state of his body, Lazia couldn't help but slap himself. I'm a effing Saint Seiya. Before I didn't have the saint cloth, I could wear the cool black robe to show off, but now that I have the saint cloth, why do I still have to wear the paper-like black robe? The title of Taoist priest is not cool at all. Lazia reached out and took out the saint cloth cup from his crotch, and his eyes lit up. Majestic 5 elders peaks of Mount Lu, please give me strength. I figured it out. No matter how I write, someone will be dissatisfied. I will follow my own routine in the future. Friends who say it's not good, thank you for looking down on me and letting me live a more exciting life. Thank you 159 for the 500 reward. Thank you Louse's AI for the reward. I will try my best to write a Saint Seiya story that is compatible with the Marvel world. Thank you 7,654 friends who collected my book. You make me proud. Chapter 53, Exploding Missiles. Brother, Lo Bing couldn't help but shout in surprise when he saw Zia landing. Dandan followed Lo Bing's line of sight and saw a man covered in blood standing trembling in the open space. Is this your brother? He looks even worse than us. Lo Bing bit her lip. Brother. He just looks a little tired. Don't worry. I said he could find us, and he did. I said he could save us, and he would definitely save us. You really have blind worship for your brother. Dandan had just finished speaking when Zia threw something into the air. The silver holy cloth cup was thrown into the air, and in a blink of an eye it turned into a huge cup about 60 to 70 centimeters high. Then a white light flashed, and the cup exploded into pieces of protective gear. Ding dang dang dong dong dang dang. With a sound, the holy cloth was put on, and Zia turned from a miserable man with kidney deficiency into a peerless hero wearing silver-purple armor. The silver-purple armor reflected the cold moonlight on Zia's face, which was carved by a knife and an axe, like a statue of the god of war from Greek mythology. The 7-year-old Dandan was stunned for a moment. I must marry him when I grow up. As long as the Saint Seiya still has consciousness, he can burst out his small universe and continue to fight, no matter how many times he is knocked down. With the armor on his body, Zia's small universe began to burn slowly. In just a moment, he felt that his waist was no longer sore, his back was no longer painful, and his legs were no longer cramped. At this moment, Zia felt that he was not fighting alone, but carrying the hope of the entire Saint Seiya world. The fire in the distance lit up again, and 6 flames flew over with long tails. Zia used her pitiful knowledge of physics to make a gesture, and suddenly realized that the fire was not coming at her. The target of the fire was the child in the small bungalow. If I can't kill you, I'll send those children to the sky first. Don't you want to save them? Don't you want to be a superhero? I'll let you taste the pain of being powerless. Bomb it, bomb it. All of you go to hell. Anatoly in the office was almost crazy. He didn't know how he could defeat a man who couldn't be killed even by missiles. Despair made him crazy. He devoted everything he had. If he couldn't succeed, he would die. Zia was not the only one who saw this. In the darkness, black arrows shot up into the sky. Nat, Barton only had time to shout, and then he kept shooting black arrows. Barton's position was on the side of the missile's trajectory. Although his arrows could not catch up with the missile in a straight line, it was not impossible to intercept it from the side with explosive arrows as heat-trapping bombs. However, the missile was too fast. The heat-trapping bombs laid in the air by explosive arrows in a hurry only successfully intercepted the last missile. The other 5 had already flown past unimpeded. Even Hawkeye's unparalleled marksmanship was powerless to do anything about it. 2 tongues of fire rushed up from the roof below, sweeping a barrage of bullets in the air. On the roof below, Black Widow held a submachine gun in each hand, and her expression was very ferocious in the light of the fire. At this moment, she regretted not sternly rejecting the Lankov brothers' use of those children as bait. If she had been more resolute, perhaps such a thing would not have happened. Unfortunately, it was too late to say anything now. Even though she had lived for more than 80 years and had long been accustomed to life and death, after tonight, her conscience would never be at ease. Black Widow's idea was the same as Patton's, using the barrage of bullets as heat decoys to intercept the flying low-altitude missiles. Unfortunately, she only had 2 guns. If the number was increased 100 times, it might still be possible, but the real situation was that her guns were completely empty, and did not play any intercepting role against the 5 missiles. She could only watch the missiles fall to the ground. A silver light shot up into the sky, facing the missile. Zia was not far from the bungalow, but in just a moment, he flew into the missile's trajectory. The silver-purple universe suddenly flashed, and his fist hit the missile. Black Widow and Patton stared at Zia, who was facing the missile. They had seen Lazia's miserable appearance after being blown away by the missile just now. Although they were a little shocked that he survived a missile, they still did not think highly of his behavior this time, because this time there were 5 missiles, and 6 more missiles were launched immediately afterwards. The crazy Anatoly stretched out his hand and shot continuously, firing all the 12 missiles on the remaining 2 launchers. "I'm afraid he will be blown to pieces." Patton's eyebrows drooped. He was a little discouraged by the failure to successfully intercept the missile. Maybe he should apply for retirement when he returns this time. He couldn't imagine what he would feel if his children faced these things one day. What a pity. Black Widow shook her head helplessly. Although she was about to complete the deal with the Russian brothers, she didn't want to continue with the follow-up matters. Lu Dan naturally didn't know that the 2 ace agents he sent had the idea of retiring at the same time. The galloping flames collided with the silver-purple light, and the 2 subconsciously wanted to close their eyes, not wanting to see the tragedy that was about to happen. But the next moment, they were stunned. I saw a fireball exploded at the location where the flames collided with the silver-purple light, and the silver-purple light rushed out of the fireball without slowing down and hit the next fireball. The fireballs exploded one after another, and the expected shock waves did not appear in the air. It was like fireworks, which were very ornamental, but the lethality was completely reduced by several orders of magnitude. Black Widow and Patton were dumbfounded, and they both focused their attention on the silver-purple armor. "Is that the legendary armor you mentioned?" Black Widow couldn't help asking. Patton shook his head, and then he realized that the other party couldn't see him. "No, I'm talking about the suit he used to fly before. It was blown to pieces by the missile at the beginning. I didn't expect he had a second suit, and it's harder than the previous one. It looks like it might not be able to be blown apart even if it was hit directly by a missile." "Oh no." He found the location of the Lankov brothers. Patton subconsciously wanted to draw his bow, but he stopped halfway through the bow. "Nat, do you still have strength? I hurt my arm in the explosion just now. I'm afraid I have to withdraw from the battle temporarily." Black Widow responded, "Me too. I just sprained my wrist and have lost my combat effectiveness." In the office, Anatoly's crazy expression froze on his face, and the weirdo in silver-purple armor appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye. He had never heard of a person who couldn't be killed by more than a dozen missiles. "You!" Anatoly jumped up and was about to say something fierce, but the table next to him suddenly flew over, and before he could react, it lightly slammed his head and accidentally slammed his head out. Lazia lifted the iron table as if it were a piece of foam, and turned to look at Vladimir, who was sitting next to him without saying a word. "Do you want to avenge your brother?" Vladimir shook his head. Whoosh! The table flew over, smashing Vladimir's words and his head into the cement wall behind. Lazia flashed back to the side of the small bungalow, and used the small universe to check the surroundings. He found that Hawkeye and others seemed to have retreated, and there was no one else around, so he walked into the small bungalow. Lazia did not deliberately hide his identity for these children. After this shock, they might have some childhood shadows in their hearts, and a hero who fell from the sky can relieve their tension to some extent. "Brother." Lobing saw Lazia coming in, and flew towards him. Lazia quickly reached out to catch her, and held her in his arms to comfort her. The other children squatted or lay on the ground, not daring to move for a long time. Only Dandan stood up and quietly moved to Lazia's side. "Hey, man, is there anything I can help with?" With the voice, a red and blue figure descended from the sky. Seeing this figure, the children who were still a little timid shouted instantly, "Spider-Man! Spider-Man is here to save us. My mom said that no matter what danger there is, Spider-Man will definitely come to save us." Seeing Lazia as indifferent and even a little afraid, the children instantly fell into the joy of Spider-Man's appearance. Parker, who had not figured out the situation, was instantly surrounded by a group of children and drowned in a group of noise. Lazia took Lobing and Dandan and quietly left the small bungalow, feeling a little disappointed. "Let Parker take care of the aftermath. After all, you are the famous Spider-Man." "Thank you Ling Huangling Yu for the 500 reward. Thank you DK Kind for the 500 reward. Thank you Dai Dai's O for the 2000 reward. Thank you Wolf Howl under the Plastic Moon for the reward. P.S. It seems to be the new moon. Thank you all for your support. Thank you. Chapter 54 Follow-up. In the deep sea of the Atlantic Ocean, a huge monster is quietly dormant. It is like a marine behemoth that has existed there since ancient times. Compared with the blue whale, the largest marine creature that is more than 30 meters long and weighs more than 300 tons, it is like an innocent Pekingese standing at the feet of the Hulk. It can be crushed into meat scraps in minutes. This behemoth is the crystallization of human wisdom, a super sea and air amphibious steel war fortress that integrates transportation, rescue, attack, defense, and scientific research. The aerospace carrier. Because it is an on-war period, the aerospace carrier is in a silent state at this time, and the director of SHIELD, Nick Fried Fury, is inspecting the ship. Sir, phone call. The tall adjutant handed over the phone. This is Nick Fury. Director Fury frowned as soon as he answered the phone. After hanging up the phone, Fury said to his adjutant, Hill, I'll leave this to you. I'll go back first. Hill blinked his beautiful blue eyes. Did something happen? Fury nodded. There was a problem with the case that Barton and Romanov were following. Now the CIA, FBI and government officials are questioning every process of this operation. What a bunch of bastards. They proposed the operation, but they blamed us for the problem? Hill was a little indignant. From the beginning, we were opposed to this operation. There's nothing we can do. After all, we are affiliated with the government. They are keen on playing tricks between countries. We can only obey orders. Besides, the fact that former Russian military personnel are related to Stark Industries is itself very suspicious. Before closing the watertight hatch, Fury stared at Hill with one eye and said, I'll deal with the government. I will withdraw Barton and Romanov in this matter, and they will not participate in it again. The work here needs to be completed quickly. I have a feeling that there won't be many days of peace. Watching the hatch close, Hill blinked. Here now, I have the final say. In an office, Patton and Black Widow sat at the table in a daze, both with thick bandages wrapped around their arms. They were both injured. They put all the blame on you two, said a middle-aged man who was slightly shorter beside them in a serious manner, including the explosion of anti-aircraft missiles in the suburbs and the incident of putting more than a dozen children in danger. Patton and Black Widow looked out the window without saying a word. The middle-aged man continued, Of course, these are not the main points. What they really care about is that you did not make good use of the Lankov brothers to connect with the Russians, and you did not even protect the Spate. This is the real reason for their anger. But don't worry, the director will definitely stand on your side. Those people are not clean, and they will be so busy that they will not have time to care about you. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, Patton stood up and walked out. I want to take a vacation. I will not come out again before the alien invasion. Black Widow followed closely. I will not come out even if the world ends. The door opened, and the black-faced god blocked the door. Just leaving like that? Fury walked in and asked in a playful tone. Barton spread his hands. What else? Waiting for the CIA to come and humiliate you. They don't have that time. Fury handed a stack of information to Black Widow. Go back and take a look at this information. Pay attention to this person. Our new organization may need him. Black Widow opened the file and saw the face of a silly Chinese student, who is so powerful that he found his information in just one night. Barton and I didn't say anything when we came back. Fury pointed at himself. I know more than just the two powerful people. Black Widow threw the file back to Fury. Send your powerful friends. I want to take a vacation. This is a vacation. Agent Romanov, you can do whatever you want. I heard he doesn't have a girlfriend yet. Huh. Black Widow didn't say anything, but swayed her sexy waist and walked out of the office charmingly. Have a good vacation, Agent Barton. The office became deserted in an instant. The middle-aged man looked at the people who disappeared outside the door and smiled helplessly. After all, this is my first appearance. Can't you interact with me? Give me a chance to say your name. Agent Coulson. Can I mop the floor? The cleaning lady waved the mop. Yes, yes. Coulson walked out of the office happily. In the hospital, Parker sat in front of a bed, mumbling to the quiet bed. Jessica, do you know, I did another good thing last night and saved more than a dozen children. Well, okay, actually those children were all saved by Liz. but I also played a big role. If I hadn't appeared as Spider-Man, Isaiah might not have been able to deal with so many children. You know that Isaiah, even if he is Benny Bird Huiyo, even if his new armor is more powerful, but as long as Lobing is around, his IQ will decrease. Also, I think, Parker dared to tell the truth. Even the secrets between himself and Isaiah were told without reservation. If others heard this, they would have been shocked to the point of popping their eyes. But Jessica on the bed was indifferent. After the car accident, although Jessica was out of danger, she fell into a coma. The doctor said that talking to her more would help her recover, so Parker came to share his secrets with her every day. He was not afraid of her knowing these secrets, but he was afraid that she would not hear them. Unfortunately, it seemed that there was no effect, but Parker would not give up easily. The door was opened and Gwen walked in. "Peter, you are here." Parker nodded. "Are you here alone?" "What else?" Gwen pouted. "How is Jessica?" "Still the same." Parker shook his head. "I wonder if there is anything that can stimulate her to wake up earlier, such as letting a spider bite her or something." Gwen brought a basin of warm water and wiped Jessica's face and arms with a towel. "You really dare to think that Jess is already so miserable, and you still bite her with a spider? Don't you know that she is most afraid of spiders?" "Spider bites are not necessarily all bad things," Parker muttered in a low voice. The two stayed in the hospital until noon before leaving one after another. After all, they had their own things to do and could not stay here all day. After arriving at Dr. Connor's laboratory in the afternoon, Gwen kept recalling a sentence in her mind, "Let the spider bite her." If this sentence was said by someone else, it would be nothing, but it was said by Parker, which was intriguing. Parker is Spider-Man. Is there any secret in this? Gwen felt that she had vaguely grasped some key. "I was on a business trip and left home at 5:30 in the morning. I am still on the train now. There is only one chapter today." If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Breaking the Casserole. Sitting in front of the experimental instrument, Gwen's brain was working quickly. As a female academic master, Gwen's ambition is to become a Saint CE, a woman. There is nothing wrong with this sentence. Through the communication with Dr. Connors and Parker in the past few days, she learned one thing. Parker's father was once a colleague of Dr. Connors. The two worked together to build the genetic research laboratory of the Osborn Group. After searching the internet for information about Parker's father, Richard Parker, Gwen's brain began to be a little uncontrollable. As the former head of the genetic laboratory of the Osborn Group, Richard Parker personally cultivated the spiders with super genes in the laboratory. But later, because of Richard Parker's departure, most of the information about super spiders was lost, and related research was basically stopped. Dr. Connors did not want to continue the research on super spiders, but there was no way to continue, so he retreated to the next best thing and turned to studying reptiles and lizards that he was more familiar with. Facts have proved that Dr. Connors' research ability is still one level lower than Richard Parker. Lizard serum alone was successful only with the help of a decay rate algorithm formula developed by Richard Parker more than a decade ago, and it was still proved to be a failed product in the end. Richard Parker's super spider gene has actually been successful. Parker is the best proof. In contrast, the effect of the super spider gene not only does not turn the human body into an animal, but also does not seem to have any toxic side effects and cannot be reversed. So who gave Dr. Connors the mysterious confidence that made him think that he was a scientist of the same level as Richard Parker? 10 years ago, they killed you in seconds, Doctor. Based on Parker's performance, Gwen guessed that there might be some secrets in those super spiders. The Osborn Group had also used super spider genes to test mice, but they all failed without exception. So far, Parker is the only successful case, and coincidentally, he is Richard Parker's son. Isn't this enough to explain the problem? Is it really the case that a hero's father makes a hero's son? If Dr. Connors wants to succeed, he may need a lizard father, so that the lizard gene will not reject him. Genes won't reject. Gwen suddenly had an idea in her mind, and she felt like she had found the key to the problem. Thinking of this, Gwen quickly left the office and came to the Osborne Group building. Using her previous work permit to sneak in, she needed to find more theoretical support for her conjecture. It was almost noon, and the atmosphere in the orphanage was a bit depressing. Grandma Joan was sitting on the sofa in the living room. Although she looked expressionless, her eyes from time to time looking up at the second floor still betrayed her. Le Bing walked around the second floor anxiously. The children around wanted to go up and persuade her, but they didn't know how to start. Dandin had been picked up by her aunt and left New York early in the morning. They originally wanted to come to New York to see the world, but they didn't expect to almost lose the child in one day. The big city is too scary, so let's go back to the countryside. In just one day, the two had established a deep friendship, exchanged contact information, and agreed to contact each other more in the future. On the second floor, in Lazia's former room, Zheng Shankai stood up, wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand, and then nodded with satisfaction at his work. Well, I have stimulated your 8 extraordinary meridians with acupuncture. Soon your blocked meridians will be unblocked, and your physical injuries will heal soon. The person on the bed did not respond to him. Lazia, whose body was pierced like a hedgehog, was too tired and had fallen asleep long before Zheng Shankai put the needles in. Saint Xia is a tough man when he puts on his holy clothes, and he can't avoid the fate of being hospitalized even if he takes off his holy clothes. Lazia naturally didn't want to go to the hospital. With his own strong recovery ability and the holy cloth cup, his injuries would recover quickly without taking medicine or injections. But he couldn't persuade Nanny Joan, so he had to trouble Zheng Shankai to come here. Nanny Joan's reason was very sufficient. She could bear not going to the hospital with such a serious injury, but she couldn't not see a doctor. What if there was a sequelae and it delayed his marriage? After packing up the medicine box, Zheng Shankai left Lazia's room. The holy cloth cup on the table next to him did not attract much attention from him. He just treated it as a toy. There are many small things like this in Chinatown. Maybe there is still the words "Made in China" on it. After Zheng Shankai left, Lazia exuded a light blue small cosmic power, which entangled the holy cloth cup. The holy cloth cup was pulled by the energy and slowly flew to Lazia's mouth, pouring the half cup of water in it into his mouth little by little. Lazia swallowed the water slowly in his sleep, and then the injuries on his body began to recover quickly. The giant seed is just a silver holy cloth, but it has such an effect. If it can evolve into a divine cloth, can it be filled with water and bring the dead back to life? Lazia will not know the answer to this question for a while. Brother Zheng, how is my brother? Le Bing, who was waiting outside the door, asked anxiously. Zheng Shankai closed the door, squatted down and held Le Bing's shoulders and said, "Your brother is so powerful, of course he's fine, you have to have confidence in him. But now he needs to rest. Go and tell the brothers and sisters, if there is nothing wrong, try not to go in and disturb him, understand?" Zheng Shankai went downstairs to say goodbye to Kainan, and Kainan thanked him again and again. "Thank you, Dr. Zheng. I'm sorry to bother you." "It's okay, Dean Kainan. My little brother Le and I hit it off at first sight. This is just a little help, it's nothing." The two of them were polite for a while, and Kainan asked, "By the way, Dr. Wang hasn't come back yet, he's been out for a while." Zheng Shankai shook his head. "I heard that the master uncle went to the Middle East, but there has been no news recently." Grandma Kainan said worriedly, "The Middle East, you have to be careful, even that shitty Mr. Stark disappeared there." No matter how much of a jerk Stark is, he funded the orphanage after all, and now he is the owner of the orphanage. It's not good for Grandma Kainan to keep calling the wrong person by the wrong name. Master Uncle is blessed by heaven, he should be fine. Zheng Shankai also looked a little worried. His starting point was different from that of Grandma Joan. In the wing room that Lazia broke into, Zheng Shankai found many things that should not be in a Chinese medicine hall in Chinatown. This made him feel a little entangled, wondering if he had made a mistake in coming to the United States. "Thank you for the reward from Red Lotus Nitex and you answer my questions. Thank you for the 1000 reward from the Deacon Yi Zai Zai, And thank you for the 1000 reward from the new friend Fallen Angel Lucy Hu. Thank you for the 4 rewards from the old man Xuang Yi Mozang. Praise you. Chapter 56 Box Study. It was already evening when Lazai woke up, and her injuries had almost recovered. She stood up and stretched her limbs. Lazai was somewhat relieved that the armor she opened from the armor box was the armor of the Giant King. Although it was indeed somewhat inconsistent with her own attributes, it was useful. It was not noticeable when she put it in her crotch at ordinary times, and she could use it when she took it out at a critical moment. And the most important thing was that the armor cup was really too advantageous in recovering injuries. It seemed that no matter how serious the injury was, as long as she drank a cup of water, she could be resurrected on the spot with full status. I can't say, but the speed of recovering blood and mana was definitely amazing. Mom doesn't have to worry about me getting hurt anymore. At the request of Grandma Joan, Lazai stayed in the orphanage for another night, and returned to her own small building the next day. After returning to the small building, Lazai went straight to the attic. The bronze armor box was still in its original place, looking shabby, as if the shining light that night was just an illusion. Lazai walked up to the armor box and reached out to touch it. No illusions appeared. Tiger Lord had gone offline, and maybe even deleted his account. The Holy Clothes box seemed to have turned into a real worn-out bronze box. Lazai sat on it cross-legged without giving up. The small universe that once stimulated his body function did not appear, and the box was as quiet as before. Sitting on the Holy Clothes box, Lazai touched his chin and thought. This box had transformed into a shining silver Holy Clothes box on the night when the Giant Lord Holy Clothes were opened. The symbol of the Holy Grail also appeared on the blank box wall, but after the Holy Clothes were opened, it turned into a simple bronze box again. Then the question came, in the end, is this box a one-time treasure chest, which is useless after opening it, or can it be opened again if certain conditions are met? Just like the stone that turned into a Dragon Ball will turn into a Dragon Ball again after a year. If it is the first one, it will be a bit difficult to deal with, because the Marvel world is so big and terrifying. There are many aliens, and the Earth is really just a speck of dust in the universe, and even the universe where the Earth is located is just a speck of dust in the multiverse. In such a vast universe, if you want to find another box and get a better set of Holy Clothes from it, such as the 12 golds or Ndiafiuchis, it is really like looking for a needle in a haystack. But if it is the second case, what is the condition to be met? Is it to wait for a certain period of time for the Holy Clothes box to automatically accumulate energy and recover, or does it need to be charged with the small universe? At that time, will Tiger Lord come online again, or will someone else record a video to show his presence? Coming down from the Holy Clothes box, Lazai is ready to verify it himself. No matter how much he thinks, it is better to take action once. He took the angle grinder from downstairs, installed the grinding wheel, turned on the power, and the angle grinder began to spin wildly. The first step is to verify whether the box has really become an ordinary bronze box. With a nervous mood, after the angle grinder hit the edge of the box, a burst of sparks and lightning suddenly burst out. With Lazai's arm strength, there is no such thing as slipping, and the grinding wheel stubbornly cuts at the same point. After the sparks, maybe take the angle grinder away and blow away the dust on the box, and you will see that there is no scratch on the ancient corners of the box, while the grinding wheel on the angle grinder has been ground away. This is the diamond grinding wheel that Lazai bought specially. Not to mention bronze, even alloy steel can be ground, but it has no effect on this box. Sure enough, this box did not become an ordinary box. It would be too embarrassing if the cross-border Goldfinger failed to be defeated by an angle grinder. Since it did not become an ordinary box and could not be opened as a holy box of the giant seat, it can be preliminarily judged that this box should be a sustainable renewable resource. It seems that it can be opened again, but certain conditions need to be met. The last time the box was opened was after Lazai truly comprehended the microcosm, and Tiger Lord came online without warning. In fact, before that, the box had already started working, and the microcosm that stimulated Lazai's body was probably left by Tongyu. Not only did it stimulate and strengthen his body, It also taught him a set of all things in the world to nourish the body and a set of thousands of tiger dances that could conquer the world. Now, Lazia's body has reached a very high level of strength, and the small universe has also been mastered in the battle that night. The small universe on the Holy Clothes box has completed its mission and will naturally not appear again. So what conditions are needed to produce a new small universe? This is really hard to figure out. Lazia scratched his head, and simply took out the Holy Clothes cup and put it on, then sat cross-legged on the Holy Clothes box. Open the box. Little box, open the lid. The largest unboxing reception center in the country is online. Show up, Linda. The power of the moon prism. The power of Mercury. The power of Mars. You open it. After a long time of tossing, Lazia helplessly lay on the Holy Clothes box, with his limbs stretched out of the box and hanging down to the ground, with a look of despair on his face. Boss, what are you going to do to open it? Stop playing around. Lying on the Holy Cloth box, Lazia fell asleep in a daze. In his dream, his consciousness seemed to follow the Holy Cloth to a place that had appeared in his dream, the Holy Land. It was still the wide training ground, and the three boys stood together. The black-haired round-faced boy performed a familiar routine and then put away his posture, holding his chin up and said, "How about it? Did you see it clearly? This is my own martial arts. Even if there are thousands of troops, don't think of trapping me." Lazia and the other blonde boy shook their heads at the same time. The blonde boy said, "Martial arts are still too difficult for us, but we don't necessarily have to fight the enemy in close combat. I can make the enemy never get close to me." Bragging, the black-haired boy said, unconvinced. The blonde boy smiled indifferently, his broad eyebrows slightly condensed, and he disappeared in a flash. "How about it? Mine is not bad." The broad blonde boy smiled in the distance with 8 neat white teeth. Lazia nodded, indicating that this one seemed to be more powerful. Jinkandu flashed back with an instant teleportation, and said with a smile, "This is called telekinesis. In addition to teleportation, it has many other effects. It is much more powerful than your martial arts. But then again, Tong-u, your martial arts are not superpowers. It is more appropriate to call it physical skills. It seems that not everyone will gain superpowers when they open their sixth sense." The black-haired Tong-u shouted unyieldingly, "Who said I don't have superpowers? I can beat both of you by myself after taking off my clothes. I just want to ask if you are afraid." Lazia shook his head in fear. "You must be considered a superpower. I am afraid that no one in the entire sanctuary can have such a powerful ability except you." Jinkandu Xiang nodded and praised, "You are indeed a super pervert. A person with superpowers." Tong-u laughed so hard that his eyes could not see. "Thank you, new friend. Book friend 140109143733190 inches for the reward. Thank you, Blood Knight, for the reward. I want to tell my friends in the bookstore something. I don't know if you can see it. It's better not to play this thing called the Master said in the future. If you say too much, it will be a spoiler, and if you say too little, it will feel like you are lying, so just don't ask questions anymore. I don't know if the previous one can be deleted. If anyone who understands, please help me. Thank you." Chapter 57, The Other Side of the Mountain. It was already dark in the United States, but it was daytime on the other side of the earth. Deep in the mountains of Afghanistan, Tony Stark was being held at gunpoint and visiting the camp. The neatly stacked weapon boxes with Stark Industries printed on them on both sides of the road deeply stimulated his cynical heart. Almost dying from the weapons he designed and produced, Tony Stark was transforming from a black-hearted arms manufacturer to a frustrated loser with an uneasy soul. He had never imagined how desperate those who watched the bomb explode in front of them would be. Tony Stark was glad that he was saved. Although he needed to rely on a battery to sustain his life, he was much luckier than those who were killed in the explosion. If he could return to the United States safely, he hoped to do something for those who had been hurt by the weapons he made. He needed to atone for his mistakes. However, his kidnappers obviously didn't think so. A bearded Asian expressed the intention of their organization on their behalf. Help them make the most advanced Jericho missiles. Just tell them what materials they need, and they will be responsible for supplying them. Tony Stark had never been threatened in his life, He replied to the arrogant terrorists with a firm no. In the distance, a bald man looked over here from a distance. After Tony Stark was brought back to the cave, he turned around and walked down the hillside. He came to a tent and said to a man sitting on a chair holding a purple clay teapot, he really didn't agree. The bald man spoke poor Chinese, while the man holding the teapot spoke authentic Chinese. He was wearing a large black cloak with a hood covering most of his face, and his voice sounded a little old. I knew he wouldn't agree, but don't worry, he will agree in the end. How can a man like Tony Stark be willing to die without knowing where he is? He doesn't have much time left. He has less than 7 days left. He will definitely give us a satisfactory answer in these 7 days. The bald man nodded doubtfully. What if Obadiah Stan from Stark Industries asks about it? The teapot paused, and the cloaked man looked at the bald man sharply. We, the 10 Commandments, do not need to explain to anyone. The bald man shuddered and nodded in agreement. On the surface, the bald man is the leader of this group of terrorists, but in fact, the real person in charge is the old man holding the purple clay teapot. After the bald man walked out of the tent, the old man took off his hood, revealing a kind old face. The identity of this person is Lao Wang, who gets medicine in Chinatown. He had met Tony Stark in the Star Child orphanage. To avoid being recognized, he wore a hood to cover his face, which also obscured his kind face and gave himself a sense of mystery. Lo Zion Zheng Shankai's worries became a reality. This Lao Wang's identity was indeed not simple. The circle of flags that Lo Zai had seen in the wing of the Chinese medicine hall before was the symbol of the Ten Rings Gang, an evil gang with a little reputation. The Ten Rings Gang's strength is almost spread throughout Asia, but it is not known to the world. Its leader is even more secluded. Almost no one has seen his real person. He only knows that his name is Chu. Lao Wang's full name is Wang Chu. He was once suspected of being the leader of the Ten Rings Gang. This statement has not been confirmed, but it is certain that Lao Wang is a senior member of the Ten Rings Gang. The terrorist organization that kidnapped Tony Stark is just a small force under the Ten Rings Gang. On the surface, they were commissioned by Obadiah Stan, but in fact, it was a long-planned action. The Ten Rings want to control Tony Stark and his Stark Industries. After all, the financial and material resources required to maintain a huge gang are immeasurable. The Ten Rings desperately need a strong person and enterprise like Tony Stark and Stark Industries as an engine to provide them with a far-reaching supply of money and weapons, so as to satisfy the ambition of Chu to restore the glory of their ancestors. It is said that the ancestor of Chu is Genghis Khan. At that time, the territory of the Great Mongol Empire extended to Eastern Europe. Around 1240 AD, the eldest son's Western expedition once captured Moscow and drank from the Danube River. Its brutal massacres and destruction caused panic in the entire European religious countries. It is rumored that the Pope intends to negotiate with the Mongols. If Mongolia can convert to Christianity, the Pope will lead the European countries to submit to the rule of the Mongol Empire. However, whether this rumor is true or false, it proves one thing from the side. The combat power of the Mongol Empire is so terrifying. Unfortunately, history played a little joke, and the goddess of luck favored the European countries. When the Mongolian army was ravaging Europe, the then great Khan Ojdai died unexpectedly. The Mongolian army retreated and missed the opportunity to conquer the whole of Europe. If Ojdai could live a few more years, the history of the whole world would probably be rewritten. And more than a decade later, another westward expedition of the Mongolian Empire brought a catastrophe to the Islamic world. Baghdad, the capital of the Islamic Arab Empire, fell. Mustasim, the caliph who was the supreme leader of the Islamic regime at that time, was captured alive and trampled to death by horses wrapped in rags. The whole Islamic world was trampled under the hooves of the Mongols, and Europe, which was close at hand, became panic again. So in the impression of many Europeans, the Mongolian Empire is definitely a nightmare. It is not known whether Chu has the ability of his ancestors, but his ambition is definitely no less than that of his ancestors. Wang Chu put down the teapot and tapped his fingers lightly on the table. He was thinking that if Tony Stark really refused to cooperate, he would just kill him. The Obadiah Stan who wanted to replace Tony Stark would be easier to control. Just thinking about it, The bald man came back happily to report. Tony Stark agreed to cooperate. Wang Chu breathed a sigh of relief. This was the best. Tony Stark was not only useful for this identity, but also for his genius brain. Controlling Obatiaston could only get them the present, but with Tony Stark, they would have the future. Whatever he needs, you must supply it with all your strength, so that Mr. Stark can feel the sincerity of our 10 rings. The bald man happily arranged it, and the valley suddenly became busy. Looking at those busy figures, the bald man couldn't help but feel excited. After completing this job, his status in the 10 rings would definitely rise a lot, and then he wouldn't have to hide in this place and play hide-and-seek with the US military. He had already planned that when the time came, he would not only lead the army to have a head-on confrontation with the US military, but also let those arrogant Americans know how powerful the 10 rings were. And he would also return to his hometown and give that beautiful and kind girl a grand wedding. Villains also have love. Chapter 58. March passes. In the early morning, Lazai woke up from his dream. His sleeping posture with his body prostrated and his body facing the sky made him feel a little uncomfortable. Fortunately, the waist of the armor of the giant duke was designed as a battle skirt. If it was the invincible copper underwear of the unicorn, it might be torn. The armor was damaged in a non-war state. Even if Mr. Mew, an Ares, was found, he would not repair it for free. Besides, there was no Ares here. If it was really damaged, he could only go to the battlefield with a hole. Damn, that would be absolutely embarrassing. After a night, there was no change in the armor box. Lazai no longer insisted. He didn't even understand the giant duke in his hand. Even if he opened the new armor, what would be the use? He couldn't wear two at the same time. Instead of thinking about so many useless things, it would be better to fully understand the giant duke in his hand. At that time, he would have natural fire in his left hand and ice fangs in his right hand. If he met a magician, he would burn him, and if he met a physics student, he would stab him. He would ask who else was dissatisfied. Don't be afraid of getting hurt. Drink a glass of water and quickly recover HP and mana. I just like the way you can't stand me but can't kill me. Last night's dream was not just about watching Tong Yuanshin show off. The second half was all about the water mirror possessed by Lazai demonstrating his control of water vapor and his understanding of ice fangs. When a Saint Seiya comprehends the sixth sense, it is possible to comprehend some superpowers, such as setting fire, making ice, and taking off clothes. But this phenomenon is not absolute. Not everyone will definitely comprehend a superpower. Moreover, this so-called superpower can be comprehended not only when the sixth sense is activated, but also through acquired learning, such as Shin's corpse gas skill in LC. When Lazai comprehended the sixth sense, he did not activate any superpowers, but this does not mean that he does not have superpowers. In fact, natural fire is his superpower, but because of the practice of Senyuo Wangxian, it has been developed in advance. After obtaining the Saint Cloth of the Giant King, Lazai has another opportunity to learn other abilities, that is, the water vapor control of the Giant King. However, because he was not familiar with the microcosm and the holy clothes before, he could not use them flexibly. After a night of teaching by Shui Jing, he could now flexibly control the water vapor to produce ice fangs even if he did not wear the giant saint clothes. But the lethality was still a little different from that after wearing the saint clothes. The saint clothes still have a great effect on the increase of microcosm. After taking off the saint clothes and turning them into the saint clothes cup and putting them in his trouser pocket, Lazai saw that it was getting late, so he packed up and went to school. Along the way, a fingernail-sized ice fang kept forming and breaking in his palm. Such practice helped to train Lazai's control over the microcosm. It took Lazai more than 2 months to walk from the small building to the school. At the school gate, Lazai waved his hand casually, and more than a dozen ice fangs formed instantly and then shot into the sky, exploding into a piece of ice chips in the air and dissipating. Time flies like a white horse, and it has been 3 months since Lazai came to the Marvel world. After more than 2 months of familiarization and training, Lazai's prostate. No. It's a state that has been completely stabilized. The energy of the microcosm has reached the point where it can be freely sent and received. and the mastery of the water vapor condensed ice fangs has basically reached the point where it can hit whatever it points to. A lot of things have happened in the past 2 months. Needless to say, Parker, Spider-Man's reputation as a good neighbor in New York has been thoroughly spread out, and has basically become a signboard of New York City. Wherever there is crime, there is Spider-Man, and the cost of crime in the entire New York City has increased sharply. Although the crime rate has not actually decreased, most people praise Spider-Man, except for Sheriff George Stacy. When Lazai went to Gwen's house to eat lemon sea bass, Sheriff George specifically expressed his disdain for Spider-Man. Although the idea of exposing Spider-Man has faded a little in his heart, Sheriff George still can't accept that the people of the entire city are looking forward to a masked man in a tights to protect their safety. Obviously, the police have done more. In this regard, Lazai can only laugh. It's really nobody's fault. It's because you Americans advocate personal heroism. The appearance of Spider-Man satisfies everyone's fantasy of heroes, and it's only natural that he should be worshipped. Lazai didn't quarrel with Sheriff George over Parker's matter, which made Gwen feel relieved. At the school locker, Parker asked Lazai with a smile, "How about the lemon sea bass? Do you know how to eat it?" Parker had known about Lazai's visit to Gwen's house for a long time. Seeing that Lazai and Gwen finally got together, Parker was quite happy, helping Parker remove a piece of dark green leaf from his head. Lazai shrugged, "I brought a pair of chopsticks with me before I went there. Guess what? When I used chopsticks to pick out the smallest fish bones one by one, Gwen's mother was shocked. She never knew chopsticks could be used like this." Parker rolled his eyes helplessly. "You brought chopsticks to Gwen's house? Don't you know that's rude?" Lazai spread her hands. "They don't have chopsticks at home, and I don't know how to use a knife and fork. Do I have to use my hands?" In comparison, using a knife and fork to make a fool of myself is even more rude. "Let's not talk about me. How about Jessica?" After more than 2 months of Parker's disdainful efforts, Jessica finally woke up from her coma. After a period of recovery, she can now get out of bed and walk around. Jessica is fine. She said she would attend the graduation ceremony in a few days. It's a pity that her family can't witness her graduation. Parker looked a little depressed. By the way, this may be the last time she uses the name Jessica Campbell. A family named Jones wants to adopt her. She will change her last name in the future. Jessica Jones? Lazai nodded. He knew it would be like this, so he didn't find it strange. As the two were walking, Thompson followed behind. "Guys!" Thompson jumped up and rushed towards the two. Lazai and Parker dodged to the sides at the same time. Plop! Thompson's hands were around the necks of the two, but he still missed and fell to the ground. Seeing Thompson embarrassed, many students who had been bullied by him in the past clapped their hands silently in their hearts. "Man, you scared me." Lazai pulled Thompson up and patted the dust off his body. "Stop it, or your arm will break." Thompson quickly dodged backwards. He was not used to the transition from school bully to Aries at first, but now he is used to it. "By the way, I have passed the physical examination and will report to the army after the graduation ceremony." "How are you going to spend your summer vacation?" Top students of Empire State University. Lazai and Parker both passed the admission application of Empire State University. Unlike the top student Parker, Lazai was a special athlete recruited to do weightlifting. "Thank you for your collection and recommendation. Please support us." "Thank you." Chapter 59, One Horizontal and One Vertical. With Lazai's physical fitness, there are actually many sports that can be chosen, but after weighing it, it seems that weightlifting is the simplest and most convenient project. Show up, lift it, record the results and leave, and you don't even have to participate in training. If you choose basketball, you don't have to participate in physical training, but you must participate in cooperation training. After all, basketball is not a one-person sport. If you really play 1 against 9 plus 2 referees, then this sport will lose its viewing value. Don't worry about whether there are weightlifting students at Empire State University. This university itself is fictional. Gwen also applied to Empire State University. She originally wanted to go to Oxford University in the UK, but maybe because of Dr. Connors' laboratory, she chose to stay in New York to go to college. Recently, except for occasionally harassing Lizzie. Gwen has spent most of her time in Dr. Connor's laboratory. In addition to helping Dr. Connors with some cooperation in the lizard serum project, she also made a small room for herself to mess around in it. Even Parker, who often goes to the laboratory, doesn't know what Gwen is doing in there. Lizzie and the other two came to the classroom while talking. Gwen, who was writing and drawing on the table, turned over her notebook and stood up, asking Lizzie for a kiss. American students are really open-minded. If this happened in China, she would definitely be secretly photographed by someone with a bad temper and uploaded to 20 short videos, becoming an internet celebrity in a few minutes. Lizzie certainly couldn't admit defeat, although as a simple Chinese, he couldn't accept such an open folk custom at first, but habit becomes nature. It's just a kiss, not a big deal. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. What were you writing just now? Lizzie stopped at the notebook on Gwen's table, but she slapped him in the face. Secret, secret. Is it big? Hey, big news. The person next to him shouted with his mobile phone. The missing Tony Stark, the helmsman of Stark Industries, has been rescued and will return to the United States soon. This news did not attract much attention from Lizzie and the others. He was just an arms dealer. Whether he was missing or rescued, what did it have to do with them? A group of high school students who were about to graduate. I really don't understand why the guy reading the news is so excited, as if he bought shares of Stark Industries. Let me tell you a good news. Even if Tony Stark comes back, the share price of Stark Industries will continue to fall. Lizzie curled her lips. Tony Stark is back. Iron Man is about to be born, and the Tin can battle far away in Los Angeles. Do you want to go and watch it? There is another thing. Norman Osborn, the founder of Osborn Group, has passed away. Sure enough, those who shouldn't have left survived tenaciously, and those who should have left could not be kept. Harry's father passed away. Parker froze for a moment, picked up the phone and wanted to call Harry, but Lizzie stopped him. Let's go and see after school. Harry must be very busy now, and he may not have time to answer your call. Lizzie also wanted to see Harry's condition. After all, he might turn evil and become an enemy in the future, so it would be better to see it in advance to be mentally prepared. Norman Osborn died, and it seems that he died earlier than in the movie. However, this world is not completely in accordance with the movie. Harry has already appeared in advance, and it is not unacceptable for Norman Osborn to die a few months earlier. However, the death of Norman Osborn still makes Lizzie feel a little sad. Norman Osborn had a chance to survive. If Richard Parker could hand over all his research more than 10 years ago, perhaps the blood genetic disease of the Osborn family could be cured. From this, more drugs that can cure other genetic diseases can be produced to benefit more people. But if Richard Parker really handed over everything, with Norman Osborn's personality and no worries about illness, he would use more energy to cooperate with the military for the sake of profit and produce biological weapons with high lethality. At that time, there would probably be more casualties. Richard Parker can be said to have single-handedly prevented the birth of a Green Goblin and avoided a doomsday crisis with zombies everywhere for the Earth. From this perspective, he can be regarded as having done a great deed. He is also a world-renowned arms dealer. Norman Osborn's death was caused by the departure of the project leader funded by dirty money with a life-saving straw, and Tony Stark, after experiencing a life-and-death situation, decided to close the weapons production department. Soon, the press conference of Stark Industries will spread all over the world, and Tony Stark will also move towards a new life. So, good and evil will eventually be rewarded, and heaven will have a good way. Who lives and who dies. In fact, the heaven has already determined. After school, Lizzie followed Parker to the Osborn building, where Harry was preparing to take over the company left by his father. A 17-year-old child, whose usual hobbies are combing hair, traveling, and sleeping with supermodels. Suddenly his father passed away, and he had to take over a huge business empire. Harry's pressure can be imagined. Sitting in the reception room, Parker sighed. Harry was my best friend when I was a child. My parents left suddenly during that time. If it weren't for him, I don't know how I would have gotten through it. So I can understand his feelings now. The pain of losing a loved one. Lizzie shrugged. Well, Please forgive me for not being able to understand this kind of pain. I have been in an orphanage since I can remember, and I haven't even seen my parents. Lizzie didn't mean to compare her misery, but just wanted to comfort Parker in this way. I'm sorry. Parker didn't know what to say for a while. After waiting for a long time, Harry finally finished the meeting and had time to see Parker. When they met, Harry's state was indeed quite low, but he was surprised that Parker could come. Patting Parker's arm, Harry thanked him sincerely. I am very relieved that you can come. Thank you. Parker hugged Harry and didn't know what to say. Lizzie was not that familiar with Harry. After a few polite words, she stood by the window alone. In the corridor far outside, a person hurriedly walked by. It was Asan, who was going to take the lizard serum to the Disabled Veterans Rehabilitation Center for human experiments. Because he looked similar to the one in the movie, Lizzie recognized him at a glance. Asan walked into a busy laboratory with a document in his hand. With Lizzie's eyesight, he could see the words on the label next to the document even from a distance. To red dot. If Lizzie remembered correctly, it seemed to be Dr. Connor's previous research project. So, even though Norman Osborn has passed away and Dr. Connors has left the Osborn group, Asan is still doing this research. Is it to prepare for Harry, who has not yet developed the disease, or is there another purpose? Recently, some book friends have been talking about Chinese dialogue. My dear, the subtitle group is naughty now. Can't I be more down to earth? Newcomers are definitely flawed when writing books. I hope everyone will tolerate it. Thank you for your support. Chapter 60, Lucky Angel. Lizzie finally boarded the flight to Los Angeles, ready to visit the City of Angels. Tony Stark's return made Pepper's work easier, and she called to invite Le Bing to Los Angeles. Lizzie heard that Uncle Lee was going to Los Angeles to attend a dinner party and needed someone to relieve boredom on the way, so she volunteered to accompany him. But after getting on the plane, Uncle Lee exchanged seats with the person next to him to chat with the charming Heng. Le Bing sat by the window on Lizzie's left, and an unexpected person exchanged seats with Uncle Lee on the right. Brother Zheng, I didn't expect it to be such a coincidence that you are also going to Los Angeles, and we are on the same flight. Zheng Shankai smiled and wiped his nose. I didn't expect that Brother Le and I are really destined to be together. Brother Zheng, look, the clouds outside are all white. I haven't seen a black one for so long. They are all white marshmallows. Le Bing leaned his face against the window and said excitedly while looking at the clouds outside. Clouds are originally white, but because some are thicker, they can't let light through, so they look black. Lizzie explained. Brother, you are lying. How can there be no black clouds? We can see a lot of dark clouds on the ground. I will definitely find black ones. Sometimes it's impossible to reason with children. Lizzie shook her head and turned back to chat with Zheng Shankai. What is Zheng brother doing in Los Angeles? Do you know anyone there? Zheng Shankai shook his head. There was a party that invited my uncle to attend. He didn't have time, so he asked me to take the blame. In fact, I didn't want to go. Party? Zheng brother, you are not going to attend the celebration dinner of Stark Industries donating to the Firefighters Families Foundation, are you? Lizzie joked with a smile. Uncle Lee was going to attend this dinner. Lizzie was just joking, but he didn't expect Zheng Shankai to take out an invitation from his jacket pocket and take a serious look. It's the same dinner. We are really destined to be together. Lizzie looked at the words on the invitation with some disbelief. Sure enough, it was the same as the one Uncle Lee gave him. Is there really such a coincidence in the world? As acquaintances and going to the same event, Lizzie and Zheng Shankai chatted very well along the way. Only Le Bing was a little unhappy. After all, she still didn't find a black cloud in the sky, which made her doubt her own cognition. After getting off the plane, Lizzie and Zheng Shankai agreed to go out and play together when they had time, and then they separated. Zhao Lajiao had arranged a place for Le Bing to stay, so Lizzie naturally lived with her to take care of Le Bing. At night, Le Bing wanted to go out and play without feeling tired, and Lizzie naturally would not object. As long as he was with her, it would be safe no matter day or night, in New York or Los Angeles. After having a crazy time in the Santa Monica Pier amusement park, the two took ice cream and got on the Ferris wheel. As the Ferris wheel rotated, The beautiful night view nearby was in full view. "The lights here are so beautiful." Le Bing pressed his face against the glass, and his nose was almost squeezed into a pig's nose. Lizian nodded. "Do you want to see something better? I'll take you to the sky." Le Bing had seen Lizian wearing a black suit the night he went to rescue her. After that, Lizian did not hide it from her, but he did not take her to fly. In New York, there are too many people and organizations who have heard of the name of Bennu Bird Huiyu, and Lizian does not want to cause trouble, but this is the City of Angels LA, which is thousands of kilometers away from New York. Even the legend of New York's hero Spider-Man is not widely circulated here, let alone Bennu Bird Huiyu. Le Bing turned around and looked at Lizian with hope. "Is it really okay?" "Of course." In a while, Lizian didn't finish her words, and saw a flash of fire suddenly streaking across the sky in the air, as bright and swift as a meteor. "It can't be such a coincidence." Lizian was powerless to complain. There is no coincidence in the world. Today is the day when Iron Man's first test flight. Tony Stark was conducting his first test flight with the exciting background music. The thrill of flying at high speed made him forget everything. Everything he saw through the window of the helmet was quickly searched in the database of the artificial intelligence butler Jarvis. When passing the Ferris wheel, Jarvis's database directly locked Lizian in the cockpit. "Wait a minute, Jarvis. This person's face seems familiar. Help me search for his information." "Okay, sir." Jarvis took less than half a second to retrieve Lizian's information. Lizian, a graduate of Midtown High School in Queens, New York, originally lived in the Star Child Orphanage, and now lives in. Tony Stark raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that Mr. Joseph would come to Los Angeles. As a local, Tony Stark felt that he had to show his hospitality, such as a grand and solemn welcome ceremony. Thinking of this, Tony Stark changed direction and dived from the air, heading straight for the Ferris wheel. It is certain that Tony Stark hates Lizian. Even though he has experienced life and death and has become indifferent to many things, he still hates the Simpolite boy. The fire meteor whizzed down and headed straight for the Ferris wheel. At its speed, the entire Ferris wheel would probably be destroyed and no tourists on it would be spared. The tourists in other cabins who were originally happy to see the new thing suddenly panicked and became a mess. Only Lizian and Le Bing looked at the fire meteor flying straight towards them with an expression of idiots. "Brother, is that a meteor? Can you take it off and let me play with it? I have wanted a star for a long time. I can hang it on the head of the bed so that I won't be afraid of hitting the table when I get up to go to the bathroom at night." Le Bing shouted excitedly. Lizian nodded. "If he really dares to rush over, I will take it off for you." The holy cup in his trouser pocket was excited and restless, as if he was thirsty. "Sir, your prank seems to have failed." Mr. Lizian is not scared at all, but the tourists around are scared. "If you continue, it may cause panic." "Do you want to continue?" Jarvis reminded in midair. Tony Stark curled his lips. "Why not? I want to see how long Mr. Joseph can pretend." The fireball kept rushing towards the cockpit where Lizian was, until it was about to hit it, and then it suddenly changed direction and spun past the cockpit. When the two were closest, they were less than 10 centimeters. Tony Stark's skills were more than enough to compete with 86 running in the Akina Mountain. Yo! After a small prank, Tony Stark controlled the Iron Man suit and prepared to challenge the fixed-wing flight altitude record of 26,000 meters. Jarvis suddenly reminded, "Sir, there was a small situation." "Mr. Tony Stark, how are you?" Lizian's voice sounded behind him. "Thank you Black Comet for the 1,000 reward. Thank you Dream Breaking Dawn for the reward." The plot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is about to begin. The main storyline will follow the movies, and there will be differences in specific details and characters. Stay tuned. Chapter 61 Leaving Earth. The sudden sound almost scared Tony Stark to death. He looked back in astonishment and saw a man flying behind him. The distance between the two was about 2 or 3 meters. Through the window, he could clearly see the man's appearance. The fierce wind blew his hairline high. His handsome face was a little childish but heroic. This feeling was all based on imagination. This man was obviously Lizian, who was in the Ferris wheel cabin just now. "How did you catch up?" Tony Stark was shocked. He wanted to go down and pretend to be cool, but he ended up pretending to be a fool. He didn't expect that this kid could fly, and his speed was not slow. This made the arrogant Tony Stark a little unacceptable. "This is only my first day of test flying. Are you mocking me with your relaxed look? But then again, what's the matter with the pair of black wings behind this guy? Is it the military's Falcon aircraft? Didn't they say that all of them were damaged? How could another one suddenly appear? Could this guy be a member of the military?" Zodiac did not fully materialize the entire black suit, but only materialized the back part and wings, so it looked very similar to the Falcon's flying suit. Moreover, there was an important question that Tony Stark could not figure out. He was now completely in a tin can, so how did Zodiac know his identity? Logically speaking, the details of his escape with the Mark I had not been disclosed in any media, and it was the first time that the Iron Man suit was worn, so it was impossible for anyone to know his identity. Even his good friend Colonel James Rhodes was still unaware of it at this time. Thinking of this, Tony Stark asked straightforwardly, "How do you know my identity?" Zodiac was stunned for a moment. "Yeah, this idiot came out to show off for the first time. How did I know his identity? This is a bug, I can't explain it." Zodiac regretted not wearing a mask and just rashly followed him. This was quite stupid, but the arrow has been shot and there is no turning back. Since he has already come up, it would be more embarrassing to go down now. The only way was to force an explanation. Ha ha ha. He used a burst of laughter to cover up his guilty conscience, while giving the other party an illusion of being unfathomable. Then Zodiac pretended to see through the truth and said loudly, "Guess, the more you say, the more mistakes you make. It's better not to say anything. You can think whatever you want. Don't worry about why." Zodiac can still speak and not be afraid of blowing air into his mouth during high-speed flight. The final explanation of all unreasonable manifestations can be attributed to the small universe. As a genius, Tony Stark is confident that he can see through the other party's lies. No matter how Zodiac explains, he can analyze the loopholes and find the source of the leak by following the clues. This is related to the security of his company and technology. This is a big problem and cannot be trifled with, but Zodiac's answer made him very annoyed. If the weapon system of Mark II had not been debugged yet, he would definitely have directly hit Zodiac in the face with a hand cannon. Zodiac continued to taunt him, "Mr. Stark, is this your new toy? Would you mind giving me a set? My sister thought you were a meteor and wanted me to catch you and use you as a toy." Meteor, toy. Tony Stark was so angry that he laughed. He found that he and Zodiac might really be incompatible. He would get angry whenever he heard the other person talking. "Humphrey, I admire your stupidity. Speed up, Jarvis." The thrusters on the feet of the Iron Man suit suddenly increased in force, and the speed increased significantly by 1 knot, exceeding the speed of a civil airliner. But even so, Tony Stark was upset to find that Zodiac was still following behind him with ease. "Are you a devil?" Tony Stark was a little angry. "Jarvis, climb. Too high an altitude may cause severe icing on the surface, sir." Jarvis tried to persuade him, but if Tony Stark listened to other people's advice, he would not be Tony Stark. The tin can turned in the air and rushed straight up into the sky. As the altitude continued to rise, Tony Stark laughed. "Since we are all likely to freeze, can that guy's unprotected body withstand such low temperatures?" As soon as Tony Stark finished speaking, a ball of fire rose from the side, and Zodiac's face was reflected in the fire. "Mr. Stark, are you going to break out of the earth?" At an altitude of tens of thousands of meters, the temperature has dropped to dozens of degrees below zero, and the air has become extremely thin. The surface of the Iron Man suit has begun to show signs of freezing, but Zodiac still does not show any discomfort. "Damn it, Jarvis." Tony Stark wanted to continue climbing, but the ice on the suit quickly spread until the thrusters were frozen and Jarvis was shut down. After the suit lost power, it quickly slowed down, and what awaited Tony Stark was a free fall from an altitude of 10,000 meters. "Oh, no no no!" Tony Stark finally shouted in panic the moment his body lost weight. "Jarvis, I'm frozen. Open the auxiliary wings quickly, hurry up, we have to get rid of the ice." After Tony Stark shouted in panic, he found that the expected fall did not last too long, and he stopped in midair. To be precise, he was held up by someone's hands and stopped in midair. Looking out through the window of the embarrassing helmet, Lazai was flashing with fire, and the black wings were gently waving behind him, like an angel stepping on the moon, bringing light to the world in times of crisis. Although he was reluctant, Tony Stark still felt that he was saved, but the word thank you was stuck in his throat and he couldn't spit it out. Lazai smiled. "Mr. Stark, aren't you going to break out of the Earth? How can you give up halfway? It doesn't matter if the Iron Man suit loses power. Don't worry, I'll help you in the second half." After Lazai finished speaking, he swung his wings behind him and flew into the air again with Tony Stark, breaking the speed of sound in a few seconds. If it weren't for Lazai's protection, the roar of the sonic boom would have knocked Tony Stark unconscious. Even so, the huge acceleration made Tony Stark's blood surge, and he almost vomited in his helmet. "Slow down, I'm dizzy." The arrogant Tony Stark was a little scared. Lazai stopped. "This is a revenge. You can also understand it as a warning. I have no intention of making an enemy of anyone, but it's best not to mess with me. I hope Mr. Tony Stark can remember it." After speaking, Lazai loosened his hands and the tin can fell directly. A black shadow flashed, and Lazai returned to the ground earlier than Tin Can. He instantly folded up his black wings and flashed into the cabin of the Ferris wheel. The cabin where Le Bing was had not yet completed its rotation. "Brother, where is my star?" Le Bing stared with big eyes. "The star was too ugly, so I threw it away." "If it is thrown away, it won't break, will it?" "Then it depends on his luck." Lazai's heart skipped a beat, thinking that I wouldn't throw it away and end it up. A flash of fire flashed across the sky. Fortunately, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Charity Dinner. The first flight of the Iron Man suit Mark II ended very unsatisfactorily. Although aspects such as flight parameter stability performed well, the problem of materializing had to be solved. In addition, there was a bigger problem: speed. As a single-soldier aircraft, speed and flexibility are absolutely the top priority. The Iron Man suit has flexibility. After Jarvis input Tony Stark's daily movements, the control is no different from his own movements. But in terms of speed, it was crushed by a Falcon aircraft, which made Tony Stark feel frustrated. If you want to increase speed, you can either reduce weight or increase the output power of the thruster. If you reduce weight, it will inevitably reduce defense. This method can be used in the design of portable suits in the future, but Tony Stark will not consider it now. Then he can only use a more powerful micro-reactor. Tony Stark glanced at the cup of water filled with green liquid on the table. It seems that he will have to increase the dosage in the future. The materials used to make the micro-reactor are toxic. Although there are no symptoms for the time being, Tony Stark still needs to drink a lot of chlorophyll drinks every day to relieve the poisoning. If the reactor power is to be increased, its toxicity will inevitably increase, which will be a test for the bladder. Perhaps a liquid filtration and circulation system can be designed inside the Iron Man suit. The appearance of Lazai made Tony Stark realize that the Iron Man suit he designed with full confidence seemed to have flaws everywhere, and it would need to be greatly improved if he wanted to wear it out. After the test flight, Tony Stark became busier than before. In fact, there was another problem that Tony Stark was more concerned about. That is, the fire flashing on Lazai's body at that time. The fire seemed to be able to keep out the cold and block the strong wind. With his super genius knowledge reserve, he couldn't figure out what the principle of the fire was. Tony Stark did not allow there to be things in the world that he did not understand. If there was a chance, he must figure it out. In the next few days, Lazai and Le Bing lived happily. Every day they played wildly. In the middle, they wanted to ask Zheng Shankai to come out together, but the other party had no time. Soon, the day of the charity dinner came. In the evening, Lazai followed Uncle Lee to the Disney concert hall. When they arrived, Uncle Lee went to chat with some young ladies in cool clothes. Lazai took Le Bing to stroll around the hall. The concert hall was very large and had a strange shape. Le Bing screamed repeatedly. Lazai was a little emotional. It seemed that children should be taken out to see the world more often. This would be good for their growth. There were many drinks and snacks on the long table in the hall, but they had to pay for the food and drinks themselves. Maybe it was because it was a charity dinner and it was not free. It was equivalent to a donation. Lazai bought 2 cups of ice cream and ate with Le Bing while walking. As they walked, they saw a kind-looking middle-aged man. This middle-aged man, who looked very similar to the one in the movie, was not outstanding and had no special features, but it was that kind of slightly cute and honest temperament that made people easily like him. Coulson was waiting for Tony Stark to arrive, but he accidentally made eye contact with Lazai in the crowd. Previously in New York, Fury gave Black Widow a copy of Lazai's information. That information had not been in Coulson's hands, so Coulson did not know that Lazai was the focus of their department's attention. Bennu birds shine fire. Now in S.H.I.E.L.D., apart from Fury and Black Widow, only the people who investigated the information knew Lazai's identity. After their eyes met, Coulson smiled politely and nodded. Lazai smiled back, and after confirming the eye contact, "You seem to not know me. Either you are too good at hiding, or my identity has not been fully exposed in S.H.I.E.L.D. In comparison, Lazai is more willing to believe the latter, because even after special training, agents are still human after all, and they will still have subconscious micro-reactions. But with Lazai's supervision, Coulson did not have any unnatural micro-reactions, and it was completely like reading a stranger. "Sister, you look so beautiful today." Le Bing took the hand of the approaching Pepper. Pepper was really wearing hot today, with a shoulder-bearing V-neck opening below the trembling hole, and the back was basically exposed, and the buttocks were almost visible. Lazai walked up to her and greeted her politely, without any physical reaction between her legs. To be honest, Pepper's looks, figure and age were not Lazai's type. Although she changed her hairstyle and put on beautiful light makeup today, she could not arouse Lazai's sexual interest. Lazai's lack of reaction did not mean that others did not. While talking to Pepper, a voice suddenly interrupted from the side. "Hey, what are you talking about? You look so happy." Lazai didn't even need to turn around. She knew who was talking by the tone. Tony Stark walked between Lazai and Pepper as if to claim sovereignty. "The skirt is very beautiful. Where did you buy it?" "Yes." Pepper was about to speak, but Lazai interrupted from behind. "I gave it to Ms. Potts." "How about it? It's very beautiful." Lazai ignored Tony Stark's reaction and turned away. "Boss, Lazai was joking with you. Don't mind. This is my birthday present. Actually, it should be considered as your gift," Pepper explained with a somewhat embarrassed expression. Tony Stark breathed a sigh of relief. "It seems that I have good taste." "What does that brat know? His hair hasn't even grown out yet." Seeing this, Pepper thought Tony was still angry about being scolded by Lazai in the orphanage, so she comforted him. "Boss, Lazai is actually not a bad person. Don't embarrass him anymore." Tony Stark shrugged, with something stuck in his throat, not knowing whether to say it or not. "It's really not me who embarrasses him, it's him who embarrasses me. Okay? I almost went to see my dad yesterday." Dancing together. Since getting out of trouble, Tony Stark's feelings towards Pepper have changed. In the past, he just regarded her as a secretary who worked and a cleaner who cleaned up the garbage overnight. But now, looking at her again, he felt that Pepper was more beautiful than all the women he had slept with in the past 20 years. He must have had a problem with his brain if he didn't use such a capable and competent female secretary. The two of them danced on the dance floor. After a brief argument, Tony Stark realized that Pepper was the woman he cherished the most. If it weren't for the arrival of an uninvited guest, Pepper would have really become a capable female secretary in every sense of the word. A female reporter who had slept with Tony Stark sent him a stack of photos, and the content of the photos awakened Tony Stark's sense of social responsibility. Chapter 63, An Unwelcome Visitor. More than 1,000 years ago, Chinese alchemists invented gunpowder. For hundreds of years, gunpowder was mostly used as fireworks for celebrations to entertain people. But hundreds of years later, gunpowder was made into weapons by Western powers and became an accomplice of colonists in trampling on ancient civilizations. In modern times, flames are used in aerospace and have once again become the propeller of civilization. However, the emergence of various advanced thermal weapons has also made anti-terrorism a topic that all countries in the world cannot avoid. Gunpowder in the hands of scientists can promote the progress of human civilization, but in the hands of ambitious people, it will only cause disasters. War only satisfies the ambitions of a few people, and the greatest achievement is to displace countless civilians and destroy countless families. Watching the reports on TV, Tony Stark was filled with emotion. His original intention of making weapons was to make money, but he had never thought about whether the money was clean or not, and whether every cent was stained with hot blood. Boundless anger ignited in his heart, some towards the terrorists, and some towards himself and Obadistan. This anger needed to be released urgently, otherwise his thoughts would not be clear. In the small town of Jamila, the hometown of Dr. Ethan, Tony Stark's savior, a super burning battle broke out here. Tony Stark, wearing a modified version of the Iron Man suit, launched a military strike across half the world, causing the Ten Rings to not only lose an elite team that fought bravely, but also most of the new weapons that had just been obtained from Stark Industries. Tony Stark's thoughts were clear, but some people felt as sick as if they had swallowed a pound of flies. In a Chinese-style tea house, Chinese medicine practitioner Lao Wang was sitting at the tea table sipping tea, and suddenly the phone rang. The caller ID showed that it was the bald leader of the Ten Rings who had kidnapped Tony Stark. Wang, something happened here. After listening to the other party's story, Lao Wang crushed the teacup in his hand. Under the light, there was a hideous scar on Lao Wang's face, and his entire left arm was broken off. This was the gift that Tin Can left for him before he left. He was full of confidence and wanted to control Tony Stark to obtain more powerful weapon designs and strong financial support, but he didn't expect to be fooled by the other party. For a whole week, Tony Stark built a set of steel battle suits that were both offensive and defensive under their noses, and as a guard, he didn't even see the clues. So, being uneducated is really terrible. Am I really old? Although I am younger than that adult, my body can no longer serve the adult. The future still has to be handed over to the young. After a long silence, Lao Wang's old voice finally rang out. I know, I have sent someone to deal with it, and I will naturally give you an explanation for this matter. After hanging up the phone, Lao Wang edited a text message. The action has changed, and no one will be left alive. Don't have any illusions anymore. If you want to fulfill Lord Chu's hegemony, you must eliminate all these dangerous and unstable factors. One day after the charity dinner, Zheng Shankai actually took the initiative to make an appointment with Li Ziyan, which surprised him. Brother Zheng, are you done with your work? Are you going back to New York? Speaking of which, I don't think I saw you at the dinner that day. Li Ziyan asked curiously on the phone. Don't mention it, Zheng Shankai sighed. I was caught on the spur of the moment and went to attend a Chinese medicine seminar on behalf of my uncle, but what those guys said was too Western, and it was too different from what I learned before. It was basically talking about different things. I feel like these days have been wasted in vain. Li Ziyan agreed. It's normal. The moon in foreign countries is different from that in China. Many things will be localized here. You just have to get used to it. Yeah, that's how I comforted myself. Otherwise I would have beaten that guy into a pig's head at that time. Zheng Shankai said helplessly. By the way, you just said that you are going to visit Mr. Stark's house today, right? Brother Zheng asked. Well, I guess so. Li Bing asked Ms. Potts to visit the big villa of the local tyrant. I have nothing to do anyway, so I will go with her to have a look. Li Ziyan heard that Zheng Shankai had nothing to do, so she invited him. Brother Zheng, do you want to come with us? We are free anyway. Zheng Shankai agreed without thinking. After all, there are not many opportunities to visit the home of the local tyrant Stark, and as Li Ziyan said, we are free anyway. In the afternoon, Zhao Lajiao brought Li Ziyan, Li Bing and Zheng Shankai to Stark's beachfront mansion, a semi-hanging villa on the cliff by the sea. It must be said that Tony Stark really knows how to enjoy himself. Los Angeles has a Mediterranean climate with mild weather all year round. The hottest time in summer is only 25 or 26 degrees. To have a seaside villa with a sea view on such a beach is a dream that many people cannot realize in their lifetime. Zhao Lajiao brought Li Ziyan and others here with Tony Stark's consent. Mr. Stark especially wanted to know what expression Lion, the country bumpkin, would have when he saw such a spectacular house. After the Iron Man suit was crushed by Lion, Tony Stark found that the only thing that made him better than this annoying guy was that he was rich. Is being rich a big deal? In today's society, being rich is great. Tony Stark believed that his combat power was only temporarily crushed. One day, he would be able to make a more powerful Iron Man suit and return all the humiliation of that night. After leaving a few people in the living room, Pepper went downstairs alone. Downstairs was Tony Stark's studio. Without his permission, others could not go down privately. It's so beautiful to see the sea here. Bing pressed her face against the glass. She seemed to like the shape of the pig's nose. Zai watched from the side without saying anything, but Zheng Shankai behind him didn't like watching the sea as much as the two of them. He kept looking around and seemed to be more interested in the furnishings in the house. The three were visiting when little Pepper came up with an unnatural look on her face. "You guys go to the recreation room and play for a while. I have something to do outside. I'll come back to pick you up later, or I'll arrange a car to take you back." After saying that, little Pepper went out without looking back. "Sister Boz, let me accompany you." Bing jumped off the sofa and ran to little Pepper, but was rejected by little Pepper, who walked to the door. "Sister has to do something very important." Bing, can you play here first?" After little Pepper left, Zai and others came to the recreation room under the guidance of the robot butler. "Is Mr. Stark very busy? How come I haven't seen him for so long?" Zheng Shankai asked the robot butler curiously. "Mr. Stark doesn't see everyone, especially those he hates," Jarvis hinted. Zai looked down at Bing. Bing, do you still want a star? I'll pick one for you." Chapter 64, Life on the Line. Pick the stars. Jarvis said nothing. He just wanted to express Tony Stark's feelings towards Lion, not to start a war. Although he was not afraid of Lion Tony Stark's base camp, he was in his base camp, but if a fight really broke out, he would be the one who would suffer. The sky gradually darkened. 2 movies were shown in the entertainment room. Pepper still did not come back, and Tony Stark, who was tinkering with equipment in the basement, did not show up. Jarvis did not speak again. The 3 people in the entertainment room seemed to be forgotten. "Brother, I'm hungry." Even if they had been watching cartoons all the time, Bing had seen enough. She walked to Zai and pulled his arm and said coquettishly, "I'm hungry. I want to eat." "There should be something to eat here, Jarvis." Zai woke up from his meditation. Just now, he and Zheng Shankai discussed some ways to practice Qi and exchanged some experiences. Zheng Shankai's practice of Qi was different from Zai's. He practiced the Qi in the body's meridians, just like the internal strength and martial arts. Zai, as all things in the world, is to draw the natural energy into the body, and the method is more like cultivation. The principles of the two are different, but the same as the energy. The trajectory of movement and the method of application are somewhat similar, and they can learn from each other. So the two communicated happily. In the end, they tried to enter the state of meditation using each other's methods, but they felt that something was wrong and they could not get started. After calling a few times, Jarvis did not respond. Zai turned around and found that the chair next to him was empty. "Is Brother Zheng out?" Bing nodded. "Brother Zheng went out for a while. He hasn't come back for so long. Maybe he has a stomachache." Zai glanced at the door in the corner of the entertainment room. There was a toilet there, so there was no need to go outside. "Go out and take a look." He took Bing out of the entertainment room. The elegantly lit living room was quiet, and there was no sign of Zheng Shankai. Bang! There was a sound of someone falling downstairs, followed by a ping-pong sound. Zai picked up Bing and rushed down the stairs. His intuition told him that something bad seemed to have happened. As soon as he came downstairs, Zai saw a man lying on the ground with an empty iron bowl on his chest. His face looked very bad and he looked like he was going to die. Next to him, there were broken glass all over the floor. This man was obviously Tony Stark, who had his micro-reactor taken away. "Is today the day of the final battle in Iron Man 1-inch? Did Obeda Stone come during the time when I was in a trance just now? Damn, I didn't even notice it." Zai put Bing outside the door and walked in slowly. "Brother Zheng, What are you doing? There was a man standing opposite Tony Stark, playing with something that was shining white in his hand. This man was Zheng Shankai, and the thing in his hand was a micro-reactor. Lazai was a little confused. This reactor should be the one Tony Stark made in the cave in Afghanistan. After returning, he made a new reactor and asked Pepper to help throw away the old one. Unexpectedly, Pepper made a handicraft with it and sent it back to him. But this garbage that was about to be thrown away but failed to be thrown away became Tony Stark's lifeline after Obadiah took away his new micro-reactor. Not only did it sustain his life, but it also provided the Iron Man suit with energy to defeat the Ironmonger. However, at this time, this lifeline was held in Zheng Shankai's hand. Zheng Shankai glanced at Lazai, caught the reactor thrown in the air, and clenched it in his hand. "Allah, get out first. What's happening here has nothing to do with you." Lazai was confused. "No, Brother Zheng, what's going on? Since I'm here, it has something to do with me. Plug the thing into him first. He's almost dying." Zheng Shankai glanced at Tony Stark on the ground and shook his head. "He's dying, and I want to save him, but what about those who died from the weapons he made? Who will save them?" Seeing Lazai's reluctant look, Zheng Shankai turned around and said, "I've been to a small town before. It was bombed by terrorists 2 days ago. There were 2 children trapped in a shattered building. They were trapped for 2 days and 2 nights, but no one dared to rescue them because there was an unexploded bomb clamped on the floor of their house." Zheng Shankai lowered his head and looked at Tony Stark. "Do you know who produced that bomb, Mr. Tony Stark?" Zheng Shankai pulled hard with his hands, and the wires in the reactor were pulled out. The coils wound on the ring were also torn, and the reactor suddenly darkened and became a pile of real garbage. Lazai almost went crazy. He seemed to hear something shattered with a crack. It was something called hope. "It's over. The micro-reactor was destroyed. Tony Stark is doomed." Lazai looked down at Tony Stark on the ground, but saw that he began to roll his eyes. "It's over. It's over. It's over." Brother Zheng pulled out the ending. "Iron Man is gone. Is this Marvel Cinematic Universe going to end before it even begins? What kind of Marvel Universe is it without Iron Man?" Did they ask Jianjian to be the protagonist? God knows where Jianjian is now. Looking at Tony Stark, who was twitching on the ground, Zheng Shankai showed a trace of pity on his face, but he still said cruelly, "I have heard too many such things. What I am doing is also to stop terrorist attacks from the source in the future. The people of the world will be grateful to me. Yes, the people of the world will be grateful to me." Turning around, Zheng Shankai stopped looking at Tony Stark. Lazai squatted down, took out the holy cup from his crotch, filled a glass of water and gave it to Tony Stark to drink. "I don't know if it will work, so let's try it." After drinking the water, I was glad that it didn't spray out from the bowl on Tony Stark's chest. His face also eased a little, at least his eyes no longer had more white than black. Holding Tony Stark, Lazai said with some regret, "I didn't expect that. I came all the way from New York to see you off. If you have any last words, just tell me. I'll try my best to do what I can for you, but don't talk about too profound scientific questions. I don't understand them, and I may not be able to perfectly present your last gift to the people of the world." Tony Stark stared at Lazai and made a sound with effort. "Oh. Me?" Lazai frowned. "You? What's wrong with you? You actually want to show me your Chinese before you die?" "Oh. Water." Tony Stark finally said a word clearly. Lazai nodded, filled a chalice with water and began to pour it into his mouth desperately. "Come on, drink more, so that you can go on the road after drinking enough, and you won't be a starving ghost when you get there." After drinking 4 or 5 glasses of water, Tony Stark coughed and sprayed the water out, but after drinking the water, his expression also improved a lot. But Lazai sighed slightly. "The power of the Holy Grail might not be able to cure the tiny shrapnel in your blood vessels, and you will still not escape death in the end." Chapter 65. You can't leave. Tony Stark stood up by supporting himself on the table and smacked his lips. "What kind of water is this? It tastes a bit." Lazai raised his eyebrows. "What? Does it taste abnormal? I wash it every day." "Okay." Tony Stark shook his head. "I can't explain it, It's just that it has a magical feeling. Of course. Zodiac gave a king's contempt. So Mr. Stark, are you interested in taking over such a good cup? It's not expensive. The bargain price is only 9.98 million. How about it? This price is very affordable. Tony nodded. The price is not expensive, but now is not the time to discuss this. Zodiac put the Holy Grail back into his trouser pocket. Don't say I didn't remind you. The price will not be this after today. Besides, I don't have a strong intention to sell it. Tony Stark faced Zheng Shankai's fighting power. The big hole on his chest looked like it could emit a virtual flash at any time. Sir, you are right. The weapons made by Stark Industries have indeed brought many disasters to the world. This is my fault. I cannot deny it. Besides, I have already started to prepare to shut down the weapons department of Stark Industries. I said this at the press conference. Do you know if you have heard it? Zheng Shankai sneered disdainfully. What if you said it? I have checked in Los Angeles these days. There are no changes in your weapons department. So please don't use those excuses to evade me. It's useless. Tony Stark sighed. You are right. Other people in the management do not agree with me. They even want to kill me for their own selfish interests. So, we should be in the same camp, right? Zheng Shankai turned his back and did not answer, as if he was considering the correctness of this sentence. Zodiac looked at the big hole in Tony Stark's chest and suggested, Mr. Stark, let me give you a sincere suggestion. Shouldn't you make a micro-reactor to save lives first? There's no time. Tony Stark walked to an instrument next to him, stretched out his hand and pressed it, and the door of the instrument opened, revealing a brand new micro-reactor. After taking out and installing the micro-reactor, Tony Stark finally regained his confidence. You actually have a spare? Zodiac didn't remember that there was a third micro-reactor in the movie. How did this one come from? Did Tony Stark know that Shankai would come in and pull him out of the finale? This is too ridiculous. Tony Stark exhaled. In the end, it was all thanks to you. When I was testing the reactor that day, I found that the power of the reactor was not enough. So I made a bigger one as a backup. I didn't expect to use it today. Well, it turns out that I am the one who changed history. No, it's not a shit stirrer, it's a little butterfly. The description of a shit stirrer is too disgusting. Both the active and passive ones are scolded together. Zodiac complained crazily in her heart. Jarvis has been shut down by Obadiah. I have to restart him first. He took out his keyboard and was typing away when his good black friend, Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes, rushed in. Tony, where are you? Hey, who are these people? Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes was a little confused. How could so many strangers come into Tony's private studio? And the floor was so messy. It doesn't matter. Tony Stark had already restarted Jarvis. Where is Pepper? Oh, she's with 5 agents. She's going to arrest Obadiah. Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes replied. Not enough. Too few people. Tony Stark walked to the operating platform on the side. After the restart, Jarvis immediately controlled the mechanical arm to dress him in the Iron Man suit. Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes was stunned and couldn't help but praise. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Dressing in the Iron Man suit with the help of a bunch of mechanical arms is indeed very dreamy and mechanical. Even though Lizzie has seen it countless times in the movie, she still feels shocked when she sees it live. Of course, there is still a certain gap from the ding dong 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 when the Saint cloth is dressed. This point must be emphasized. After finishing the dress, Tony Stark walked down from the operating table. We need to start the action. As soon as he took a step, an iron rod suddenly crossed in front of him, blocking his way. Zheng Shankai seemed to be unable to convince himself. He held the iron rod in one hand, and his voice was a little cold. I am not convinced by your words. Although you said that you want to close the weapons department, this armor is far more powerful than those weapons that have been discontinued. If your so-called solution is to make more powerful weapons, then I beg you to differ. Don't even think about walking out of this door today. Tony Stark admired Zheng Shankai's persistence and principles, but there was still a grudge in his heart that he didn't know whether to spit out. Just now when I was lying on the ground waiting to die, you didn't kill me. Now I am fully armed, and you said you don't let me walk out of this door. Brother, you are okay, right? I can fly. Tony Stark didn't want to drag it on any longer, so he raised his leg and walked forward. Pepper might have been in danger. He had to save people and stop Obadiah's possible crimes at the same time. The iron rod deflected and hit the leg joint of the Iron Man suit. Although it failed to break the steel guard plate, it caused Tony Stark to stumble and almost fall to the ground. Zheng Shankai held the iron rod tightly with both hands. "I said I won't let you walk out of this door. Do you think I'm kidding?" Tony Stark was a little anxious. He raised his hands and prepared to fire a hand cannon. Pepper was still waiting for him to save her. Lazia sighed and walked between Zheng Shankai and Tony Stark. "Tainan, you go first." "I'm here." "Tony Stark, Mitsui, shouldn't you go first?" "I'm here." Well, this is an illusion. Tony Stark believed that Lazia could stop Zheng Shankai. After that night, although he still had a bad impression of Lazia, he had to admit his strength. Tony stood up and walked under a hole in the ceiling. It was the hole he made when he fell from the ground during the test flight a few days ago. "I'll leave this to you." Just as he was ready to take off, a white ray of light shot out from Zheng Shankai's hand. Then, the feet of the Iron Man suit were covered with a thick layer of ice, and the thrusters could not be turned on for a while. Lazia was also frightened by the ray. How could superpowers appear? Was Zheng Shankai lying to him just now? Could it be that he had mastered the all things in such a short time and realized the ability to make ice with natural energy? Looking in the direction of the ray, he saw a sky blue gem ring on Zheng Shankai's little finger. The ray was emitted from the ring. As the ring became powerful, Zheng Shankai's eyes turned red, and his whole state changed completely. What kind of ability is this? Tony Stark was a little confused. This mysterious power was beyond his cognition. Lazia waved a flame and melted the ice on Tony Stark's legs. "Something is wrong. Leave quickly." "Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes, please help me take care of Le Bing, the little girl behind." When Lazia spoke, her eyes were fixed on Zheng Shankai. "There is something wrong with that ring. I'm afraid it's not Zheng Shankai who is holding Tony Stark back, but this ring." Chapter 66 Wang Chu and Chu. In the tea house of Lao Wang Chinese Medicine Hall in Chinatown, New York City, Lao Wang, who has become a one-armed old man, respectfully brewed a cup of tea and handed it to the person sitting in the shadow next to him. The person in the shadow reached out to take it, and the rings on his hands made him dizzy. "Sir, Zhengzu's son Zheng Shankai has gone to Los Angeles, and it is estimated that he will succeed soon." "Zhengzu, is that your senior brother in China?" The voice of the person in the shadow was low but soft, very recognizable. Lao Wang nodded and said, "I also gave the ring to him to take away. With the magic blessing of the magic ring, he will definitely kill Tony Stark, the black-hearted businessman with blood on his hands." "Haha, Zhengzu asked his son to come to you, but you used his sincerity to trick him into helping you kill people. Aren't you afraid that Zhengzu will cause trouble for you after returning to China?" The man smiled and leaned out of the shadow. He was a decent-looking middle-aged man with a big back hair, wearing a straight suit, and a thin black tie on his white shirt. He looks like a domineering yet elegant uncle, much younger and more stylish than the old and frail old Wang. In fact, this man is several dozen years older than the 60-year-old old Wang. He is the leader of the Ten Commandments gang, Chu, who is over 90 this year. In the foreigner's files, his English label is Mandarin, which is translated into Chinese as Mandarin. This guy has an extraordinary origin. Now Chu, who has been in seclusion for decades to practice magic, has finally come out again and continues to move towards the great cause of restoring the glory of the ancestors. After hearing what Chu said, old Wang looked like a bachelor. "If you want to find him, let him come to the United States to find me. I came to New York 4 or 6 years ago. People in my hometown have not contacted me for a long time. Why would I return to China?" Chu put down the teacup and took out a cigar from the table. Old Wang hurriedly stepped forward to toast it. "Sir, as long as Tony Stark is dead, we can achieve the goal of controlling Stark Industries by controlling Obadiah Aston." The bald man Obadiah Aston has too many desires and is much easier to control than Tony Stark. Taking a quick glance at Chu's hands wearing 9 rings, Lao Wang asked in a low voice, "But sir, Is it really okay for you to give one of the rings to Zheng Shankai? Chu stopped smoking the cigar in his hand, turned to Lao Wang and asked coldly, "Are you questioning me?" Lao Wang knelt on the ground with a plop. "I dare not. I am just worried that the ring will be lost. After all, Zheng Shankai is not a member of our Ten Rings gang. Although Chu looks elegant, he is a moody person. He can maintain a youthful physical condition because he has practiced a kind of magic skill, but this magic skill makes his personality explosive and irritable. Since I dare to give him the ring, I am sure I can get it back. You don't need to worry about this. I have never cared whether he is my man or not when I employ people all my life. I only care whether he is useful or not. You are the same. You should take care of things that you should take care of, and don't ask about things that you shouldn't ask. You have been with me for decades. How come you can't even figure out such a small problem?" Lao Wang's body lying on the ground almost collapsed into a puddle of mud. He trembled all over and said in a trembling voice, "I dare not. I am too talkative. Please punish me, sir." Humphrey. Chu took a puff of cigar. "For the kindness of helping me manage the gang for so many years, I will forgive you this time." "Thank you, sir." "Thank you." Lao Wang was grateful and shed tears. The relationship between the two was very strange. It was already the 21st century, but their relationship was still like that of the master and servant in ancient times. The master had the power of life and death over the servant, and the servant thought it was natural. "After the matter is done, bring the Zheng Shankai to see me. I want to get to know this young talent." "Yes." The thrusters sprayed out fierce flames, pushing Tony Stark to fly out of the hole in the ceiling. Iron Man is finally going to appear in the public's vision. A good show about superheroes saving the Earth is about to begin. After Tony Stark left, Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes hugged Le Bing and ran upstairs. The actions of Li Zai and Zheng Shankai just now made him realize that it was redundant for him to stay here, so his choice was very wise. "Little sister, Uncle will take you to see the stars outside, okay? The stars on the beach are so beautiful. Have you ever been to the beach to see them before?" Le Bing frowned and looked at Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes. "Uncle Blackface, I am not a 3-year-old child anymore. I know the importance of things. Even if you don't say so, I won't be childish enough to stay downstairs and cause trouble for my brothers." Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes had a big embarrassed look on his face. "You are indeed not a 3-year-old child, but you are only 7 years old. Okay." In the basement studio, Li Zai rolled up his sleeves while looking at Zheng Shankai opposite. "Brother Zheng, are you still able to communicate normally in your current state, or do I have to beat you until you can communicate normally?" Zheng Shankai's red eyes seemed to regain some clarity. He looked at Li Zai and said in a somewhat tangled voice, "No, Allah, you shouldn't have stopped me." Li Zai breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that they could communicate. "You heard what Shinan said just now, right? He shouldn't lie to us. Stark Industries is really making changes. Why don't we just forget about this?" Zheng Shankai pondered for a while and wanted to nod, but a burst of blue light suddenly came out of the ring and rushed along his arm to his brain. Then, his eyes turned red again. "Li Zai, don't worry about this. There are some things you don't understand. I must kill Tony Stark." Li Zai wanted to persuade him again. "But have you ever considered the consequences of doing so? Tony Stark is a celebrity in the United States after all. If you kill him, you will never be able to live alone." Zheng Shankai shook his head. "Even if I die, I don't care." Li Zai sighed. "That means there is no room for negotiation, right?" Zheng Shankai didn't reply, which was considered as tacit agreement. "Okay. In that case, then everyone should stop talking nonsense and finish the game quickly. I will take Le Bing to the Staples Center to watch the finals later. I am optimistic that the Lakers will win the championship this year." Chapter 67 Freeze Ray. On the ground, Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes took Le Bing to sit on the edge of the cliff to look at the stars. "Little Bing Bing, look at the stars over there. They are so bright. Do you know what constellation that is?" Le Bing looked up and said, "That's the Vela constellation." "Oh, not bad. Bing Bing is so amazing," Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes praised with a smile. Boom. There was a loud noise from the ground in the distance, but the two continued to talk and laugh as if they didn't hear it. "What about the one below the Vela constellation? What constellation is it?" Le Bing blinked. The one below the Vela constellation is of course the Carina constellation. Stupid. Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes suddenly felt that he might not be suitable for taking care of children. Le Bing pointed to two constellations and said, "Next to Vela is Pyxis, and behind it is Puppies." These four constellations were originally one constellation called Argo. It is said that Argo was once a very powerful saint, but it is said that the saint of Argo betrayed Athena and was expelled from the ranks of the saints. The constellation of Argo was also divided into four constellations. Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes instantly turned into a black question mark face. "Are you telling a story about Greek mythology? How come Athena is here? And what is that Saint Caea you are talking about? You don't even know about Saint Caea? You are so ignorant," Le Bing said with an expression that was really scary. "But you are lucky today. I will tell you the story of the Saint Caea." Le Bing imitated the way Zia told her the story, and said seriously, "It is said that whenever evil covers the earth, fighters of hope will appear. Their fists can tear the sky apart, and their feet can crush the earth. They are the warriors who protect the love and justice on earth." The Saint Caea. Boom. There was another loud bang, and the beeping sound of a car alarm filled the underground studio, and a figure flew out from the exit of the underground garage. Zheng Shankai turned over and got up from the ground, with a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth. Most of the iron rod in his hand, which was as thick as a baby's arm, had disappeared, leaving only a short piece in his hand, which was difficult to grind even a knitting needle. Looking at the half-broken iron rod in his hand, Zheng Shankai's red eyes flashed. Although his obsession was magnified by the magic ring, he did not become an idiot who only knew how to output. He saw with his own eyes that the iron rod was inexplicably beaten into powder just now. Zia walked out of the underground garage step by step with flames on his body, and the flames under his feet burned black footprints on the ground. "Give up, brother Zheng. You are not my opponent." Zheng Shankai would not give up so easily. He threw the half-iron rod in his hand towards Zia as a weapon. The iron rod broke through the air instantly, and Zheng Shankai also rushed towards Zia at the same time. At the same time, the ring in his hand flashed a white light, and the deadly cold air rushed towards Zia's feet. This ring obtained from Chu can emit freezing energy, which can freeze the air where the energy passes. It is said that it can reach absolute zero, which is comparable to the forgiveness of the goddess of dawn. Of course, whether this is bragging or not remains to be verified. The flames under Zia's feet burst out and were frozen by the cold air in midair, and at the same time, the freezing energy was blocked a few meters away. With a raised hand, the iron rod was caught by one hand. Zia immediately turned around and swung it directly to the side. With a touch, Zheng Shankai, who had dodged, was hit directly. Zheng Shankai screamed in pain and flew out like a football. Zia retracted his hand, but found that a layer of ice crystals had formed on his hand. Zheng Shankai stood up with his arms propped up in the distance. "I didn't expect that the myriad things you mentioned would be so magical. Can humans really emit flames from their own bodies? Didn't you see it?" Zia's hands were burning. When the flames dissipated, the ice crystals on his hands were still there, and his legs were also covered with ice crystals. The flames just blocked most of the cold air, and there were still some that slipped through the net. "Huh," Zheng Shankai exhaled, "don't waste your energy. I have studied this ring. The freezing rays it emits cannot be melted by ordinary flames." Zia did not believe in evil and released a huge flame again, but after the flames, the ice crystals on his hands and legs were still strong, and seemed to have a tendency to spread. Zia raised his hands in front of his eyes, and was almost blinded by the moonlight reflected by the sparkling ice crystals. "This is not going to turn me into the White Queen, is it, Barley? I told you that you can't destroy these ice crystals." "But these ice crystals won't last forever. They will dissipate before dawn tomorrow. During this time, use your flames to warm your body to prevent frostbite." A trace of guilt flashed across Zheng Shankai's face. This was originally prepared for Tony Stark. "Zio, you shouldn't have stopped me." After saying that, Zheng Shankai turned around and wanted to leave. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound behind him. Zheng Shankai looked back and saw cracks appearing on the white ice crystals on Zia's hands and legs, and then with a bang, they shattered into ice chips all over the sky. Zia shrugged, It's actually quite beautiful, but the principle of your ice crystals is to condense water vapor in the air, and I happen to be able to do this. How is it possible? Zheng Shankai was frightened. How could someone be able to control fire and make ice at the same time? This is unscientific. But regardless of whether this is scientific or not, the facts are in front of him and he can't help but believe it. After clenching his fist, Zheng Shankai wanted to punch again, but finally let go. You're right. With you here, I really can't do anything to Tony Stark. Lazai smiled. That's right, right? We are all people who can become superheroes. It's better to sit down and have a drink together and wait for the villains to come and then gather together to fight. There is no need to kill each other, which will make the relatives sad and the enemies happy, right? Zheng Shankai turned around. I'm not the only one who wants to kill Tony Stark. You'd better hope that he can have such good luck every time and have someone who can restrain the power of the ring by his side. To be honest, there is more than one ring with magic power like mine, and each ring has different abilities. If you face it in the future, you must be careful. After saying that, Zheng Shankai left without looking back. Only Lazai was left standing there, pretending to rub his hands and legs. Emma, this ice is really cold. I almost froze. Brother, are you okay? Lo Bing and Colonel Rhodes walked back after seeing that the fight was over. Of course I'm fine. I almost turned into a popsicle. I'll happily give you a warm hug. Lazai stretched out her hands. In another battlefield, Tony Stark's battle was a little different from the one in the movie. The high-power new reactor made him give up the idea of blowing up the company's arc reactor to send Obedestan into space, and instead chose a head-on confrontation. Chapter 68 Shang-Chi returns. Colonel Rhodes's excuse was useless. Only when he was beaten to a pulp would SX believe that this was an exercise. Moreover, the headquarters of Stark Industries was bombed. If it was really a military exercise that blew up the headquarters of Stark Industries, Tony Stark would tear down the home of the Secretary of Defense. In the end, Colonel Rhodes got the manuscript, and the content on it was a bit far-fetched. A robot war broke out at the headquarters of Stark Corporation and the nearby highway. The appearance of a magical bodyguard ended the battle, but failed to save the arc reactor of Stark Industries. At the same time, Tony Stark was sailing on a yacht with Pepper Potts, and there were 50 people around to testify. Regardless of whether this excuse was credible or not, as Tony Stark's exclusive shit-wiping officer, Colonel Rhodes had to smile even if he wiped it with his bare hands. Yes, their relationship was so difficult to understand. Regarding what happened at Stark Industries last night, the truth is this: a bodyguard of Tony Stark, Colonel Rhodes, was reading the script on TV, while Tony Stark was receiving makeup touch-ups from Pepper Potts in the lounge. That Joseph is back in New York? Today's flight. Don't move. Pepper Potts held Tony Stark's head down. His name is Lazai, not Joseph, Mr. Stark. Tony Stark shrugged. That guy might call me a big piece of shit in private, believe it or not. Haha, I called him Joseph at most because I have a bad memory, but that guy was directly attacking me personally. Okay, so you mentioned him because you want him to attend your press conference? Don't move. I do have this idea. He can just guest star as the magical bodyguard, right? He can also perform a magic trick and release a fireball on the stage. Boom. Can he perform magic tricks? I haven't heard Bing Bing mention it. Haha, you know a lot. Mr. Stark. Coulson walked over and handed over a note. Here are your lines. Tony Stark looked at the script for a while, and said to Pepper Potts before going on stage, if you have the chance in the future, invite them to Los Angeles more often. Joseph and I should have a lot to talk about. Let's talk about postpartum care for SOs. Zhao Zhao suddenly said this for some reason. Tony Stark paused and said seriously, after giving birth, the sow must be disinfected first, and the sow and piglets must be clean. Stop showing off your knowledge and get on stage. Walking onto the stage, facing many journalists, Tony Stark's restless heart finally couldn't help but choose to share his biggest secret with the world. The truth is, I am Iron Man. The whole world was in an uproar. In the waiting hall of Los Angeles Airport, among the noisy and excited crowd, Lo Bing looked at the TV screen and muttered, why is this Iron Man so unrestrained? My brother is so powerful, but he didn't tell everyone. He just defeated an Iron Man and acted like a savior." Zodiac laughed and said, "This is his charm. Iron Man and Spider-Man have different identities and status. If Parker reveals his identity, he will only put himself and his relatives into endless harassment and danger. While if Iron Man reveals his identity, it will increase the market value of a multinational company and the world image of America, publicly and privately. Exposing one's identity is more beneficial than harmful to Tony Stark. Of course, the most important thing is that as a confident show-off, although Iron Man Tony Stark is just an ordinary person without any superpowers, he is not afraid of any challenge. If Iron Man does not admit his identity and shrinks to be a puppet under the control of S.H.I.E.L.D., he will not be a key figure leading the trend of the Marvel Universe. Let's go. Leave him alone. Let's go home," Zodiac said, and the two boarded a flight to New York. What Zodiac didn't know was that there was a big gift waiting for him in New York. Time went back to the night of the previous day. After the late-night flight from Los Angeles to New York landed, Zheng Shankai walked out of the airport hall with a haggard look and got on a black business car. After returning from Stark's villa, Zheng Shankai no longer had any reason to stay in Los Angeles. Although he didn't know what would be waiting for him after returning to New York, he still took the evening flight without hesitation. The black business car drove all the way and finally stopped at a villa parking lot in the suburbs of Queens. Zheng Shankai got out of the car naturally. This place was Wang Chu's property. He had heard of it before, so he didn't feel strange. But after walking into the door, Zheng Shankai found that the atmosphere was a little bit wrong. There were many people hidden in the villa. Although they were hidden secretly enough, even the Widow and Hawkeye might not be able to detect them. But Zheng Shankai relied on his own aura to sensitively discover their existence. Because these people have one thing in common with him, they also have aura. It turns out that the uncle has developed such a big force in the United States. Why haven't I heard him say it before? Following the driver into the main hall of the villa, Zheng Shankai found the figure of the uncle from a distance, a one-armed old man with a somewhat lonely expression. "Uncle." Zheng Shankai stepped forward and knelt on one knee. "Shankai has failed in his mission. Please punish him." Wang Chu didn't speak, but a middle-aged man sitting in the main seat smiled and spoke. "Why, is that Tony Stark difficult to deal with?" As soon as this person opened his mouth, Zheng Shankai found something wrong. This person's momentum was too strong, but he was too good at disguising himself. Before he opened his mouth, Zheng Shankai didn't even notice his existence. But the momentum he burst out at the beginning almost made Zheng Shankai pressed to the ground. This person's realm was far, far beyond his. Zheng Shankai clenched his fists and gritted his teeth and said, "It is indeed difficult to deal with. He invented a kind of steel armor. I am no match for him." Chu played with the teacup in his hand and said meaningfully, "Really? Is Tony Stark really that powerful, or is there something else?" Zheng Shankai shook his head. "Nothing else." Chu raised the teacup and blew away the foam on the tea. "With your skills and the magic ring, you can't beat a man in iron armor." "The magic ring?" Zheng Shankai was shocked. How could he know about the magic ring? Could he be the legendary? Looking down at Chu's hands full of rings, Zheng Shankai instantly confirmed his identity. "Are you Chu?" Chu smiled and took a sip of tea. "After so many years, you are the first person who knows my identity and dares to call my name to my face." "Not bad. I admire you very much." Chu smiled and said, and raised his hand into a claw. A purple air instantly enveloped Zheng Shankai and lifted him into the air. Zheng Shankai was about to struggle, but a chill suddenly flashed on his hand and quickly spread to his whole body. He was frozen. "I don't believe what you say. I believe more in what I see." Chu's left ring finger flashed, and Zheng Shankai immediately lost consciousness. Please support and encourage. Thank you. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Lightning Breaks Defense. Eyes are windows to the heart. A person's thoughts can be easily expressed through his eyes, even for those who have received professional training. So, Black Widow is testing me? I didn't think so. He closed his eyes again, and the sixth sense of the small universe slowly spread around. Little brother, what are you waiting for? Black Widow saw Zodiac close his eyes like a monk, and immediately held his head and nodded. Stop pretending. Sister can't wait. Crack. The sound of something breaking came from the space. Black Widow's movement paused, and the whole person was motionless as if acupuncture was pressed. Then, the sound of cracking continued, and cracks gradually appeared on Black Widow's body. The cracks expanded rapidly, and in a moment they covered her whole body, and then there was a bang. The whole world broke into pieces. Lazai opened his eyes, and in front of him was the street at the door. He was under the door frame of the small building, and he was still holding the door handle. It turned out that Black Widow's appearance just now was just an illusion. If this was just an illusion, then this illusion was too real. When Lazai regained consciousness, he saw a tall Chinese man standing at the street corner. He had long hair combed back and wore a neat suit with a shirt and tie. He looked like the god of gamblers Jiao Jin. Who are you? Lazai asked in a deep voice. There must be something strange about this man's appearance. Huh? The man with the sapphire hair looked down at the sapphire ring on his left ring finger, with a look of disbelief on his face. You actually broke free from my illusion. Lazai looked at the man's fingers and saw that he had 10 rings on his hands. If I remember correctly, the one on his left little finger was the same as the one Zheng Shankai wore yesterday. Who are you? Although he asked this, Lazai had already determined his identity in his heart. If nothing unexpected happened, this guy must be the real Mandarin, a supervillain in the Iron Man comics, but in the movie he was changed into a funny Hollywood actor. Mandarin has 10 magic rings on his hands, so his identity is easy to identify. Just look at his hands. Apart from him, even the tycoons who flaunt their wealth rarely wear colorful gem rings on all 10 fingers. Chu was stunned for only a moment, and soon he regained his composure, and said with a smile, You are Lazai. It was you who stopped Zheng Shankai in Los Angeles and caused him to return home in defeat, right? Lazai carefully tucked the towel tightly to prevent exposure during the fight. I am Lazai. You know brother Zheng. Where is he now? Haha, you care about him a lot. Chu put his hands behind his back. It seems that you have a good relationship. No wonder he refused to tell me about you. Lazai's heart sank. What did you do to brother Zheng? Don't worry, he's fine. Chu waved his hand. He's even better than before. Although this mission failed, he has gained more powerful power than before. Maybe when you see him in the future, you should congratulate him. What does this sentence mean? Has Zheng Shankai been brainwashed and recruited by Mandarin? Lazai was confused. She finally found a future hero with yellow skin and black hair in the Marvel world. Could she really only watch him become a villain? So, Lazai squinted her eyes and looked at the Mandarin in front of her. Why did you come to me? Are you here to accuse me? For your mission in Los Angeles that was ruined. Chu nodded directly. Yes, after learning about you from Zheng Shankai, I was very angry and curious, so I planned to come to see you in person. If you are a person with a strong will, I will kill you. If you are captured by my illusion, I will keep you by my side as a dog. This was too arrogant. Lazai was so angry that she laughed. So I broke through your illusion, so I am a person with a strong will. Are you going to kill me now? Chu laughed. You are right. Since I can't control you, of course I have to destroy you. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu raised his hand towards Lazai. The middle finger of his left hand flashed green, and a bolt of lightning struck Lazai. With the speed of lightning, Lazai didn't even need to dodge. He couldn't dodge it at all. Fortunately, after he discovered Chu's murderous intention, he began to materialize the black clothes. When Chu raised his hand to shoot lightning, the black clothes had already covered his whole body. Bang! The lightning hit Lazai's black clothes chest armor, and a ball of electric light exploded, blowing him back and rolling on the ground before he could stabilize his body. A black smoke rose from the chest armor. The lightning just now almost broke through the chest armor of the black clothes. Even if the defense of the black clothes was not satisfactory, it was not made of paper. However, in front of Chu's lightning, it could only block one blow. Chu's lightning almost broke Lazai's defense, and he had 9 similar rings. Even if the abilities of these rings were all similar to lightning, They were enough to blow Lazia's black clothes into slag. And as far as Lazia knew, the ability of Mandarin's ring was far more than just releasing lightning. Happy New Year. Please support. Chapter 70. First Battle with the Ten Commandments. Seeing Lazia in such a state of embarrassment, Chu laughed triumphantly. You are very powerful, aren't you? Zheng Shankai was defeated by you even with my magic ring, but now it seems that he is just like that. After saying that, another lightning bolt shot out from Chu's left index finger. Lazia raised both hands to block it in front of her chest, and cracks appeared on the arm guards on her arms instantly. Chu seemed to be addicted, and lightning bolts hit Lazia one after another. Soon, Lazia's black clothes were torn to pieces, revealing her almost naked body. Lazia grabbed the tattered bath towel to cover Lin Junji, half squatting on the ground, staring at Chu's hands. Lazia couldn't remember what the functions of Mandarin's 10 rings were. When she read the information at that time, she just glanced at it casually, and she couldn't remember it so clearly. Judging from the 3 rings that have been shown so far, Lazia can probably resist them, but there will be endless attacks in the future, and Lazia has no idea. You are pretty good. I can't kill you even with this. Chu moved his fingers slowly. I suddenly feel reluctant to kill you. I'll give you another chance. Submit to me, follow me to conquer a large territory, and create a dynasty comparable to Genghis Khan. Lazia exhaled. When the villain started to talk, it was the time for the protagonist to recover his breath and fight back. No matter how powerful the Mandarin is, he still can't escape this vicious circle. Genghis Khan? Genghis Khan's era is about 800 years ago, if not 1,000. Lazia sneered. Friend, it's already the 21st century, and you are still dreaming of being an emperor. I really can't bear to wake you up. After Lazia finished speaking, a silver light suddenly flew behind him, and the giant king's holy clothes were instantly put on. Chu was stunned for a moment. This set of armor had never appeared in Zheng Shankai's memory. Moreover, although the shape of this set of armor looked much worse than the previous one, it contained a power that Chu couldn't figure out. That kind of power is mysterious and powerful, just like the stars in the sky, visible but intangible. After putting on the holy clothes, Lazia instantly felt confident. With the defensive power of the holy clothes, the lightning at that time could not cause any harm to it. But there was one thing that Lazia could not let go. The waist of the giant duke was designed as a battle skirt, and Lazia was only covered with a bath towel at this time, and the wind blew on her testicles. Suddenly, I envied Ziwu. Even if the unicorn holy clothes were not worn, they would not be afraid of exposing themselves. After making the bath towel into a loincloth to hide the things that should not be displayed, Lazia could finally let go and do it boldly. Humphrey, it seems that you are determined to be stubborn. Well, then I have to fulfill your wish. No matter what the secret of your armor is, I will blow it into slag for you. Chu waved his right hand, and a beam of light shot out from his ring finger and hit Lazia's giant duke holy clothes breastplate. Crack! A crack appeared on the breastplate. Lazia and Chu shouted at the same time. How is it possible? The silver armor was cracked by a beam of light. Although it did not break into a spider web like the black armor, it still made Lazia a little scared. Isn't the armor said to be able to resist all attacks except those that destroy atoms? How come the Mandarin can easily crack it with a beam of light? Or is it that attacks that destroy atoms are actually very worthless in the Marvel world? Chu looked down at the yellow ring on his right ring finger. The beam emitted by this ring can destroy the connection between the molecules and atoms of all substances, and shatter objects at the atomic level. No matter what armor the opponent wears, Chu has the confidence to blast it into slag. But the armor on Lazia's body only cracked a gap, which is very unscientific. If he can make another attack at the same position, Chu feels that he should be able to break the armor. But this ring has a cooling time. It can only be fired once within 20 minutes. Lazia doesn't know if such an attack can be fired continuously. The confidence given by the armor is a little insufficient. But after being beaten by Chu for so long, if Lazia put on the holy clothes just to escape, he would be a bit unworthy of the name of Saint Seiya. An ice fang slowly rose in front of his eyes, followed by the second and the third. In just a moment, a dense mass of ice fangs gathered in front of Lazia. It is impolite not to return the favor. Try my trick. Ice Spear White Lotus. The secret ice fangs instantly cut through the void and pierced straight into Chu's body. Facing such a dense attack, Chu was not afraid of danger, and a purple light flashed on his right thumb. The ice fangs illuminated by the purple light slowed down in the air, and basically stopped half a meter in front of Chu. Then the ice fangs quickly vaporized at a speed visible to the naked eye, and soon turned into a cloud of water vapor. Matter reorganization. The ability of the ring on the right thumb is to rearrange the atoms and molecules of matter, which can speed up or slow down their speed, as long as Chu wanted. He could even combine the ice fangs into an ice giant and turn the spears to attack Lazai. Lazai was already amazed. The 10 commandments of the Mandarin were indeed extraordinary. They could even make the ice spear White Lotus ineffective, but he still would not retreat. When the ice fangs vaporized, Lazai had already dodged and rushed in front of Chu, clenching his fist and making a sound speed punch. Because of the control of the microcosm, the fist that reached the speed of sound did not cause a large area of sonic boom, but concentrated all the energy on the fist and smashed it hard into Chu's handsome uncle face. Bang! The fist hit a piece of ice solidly, and the water vapor in the sky was instantly reorganized into a huge ice block, blocking Lazai's fist. The ice block was smashed into ice chips all over the sky, and Chu took the opportunity to dodge back. Although Chu's ring was very powerful, he was not a weak mage who had no power to fight back when approached. The magic skills he practiced greatly enhanced his physical fitness. His strength was greater than Parker's, but his speed was slightly slower and could not reach the speed of sound. This was the opportunity for Lazai to break through. Isn't it said that the only way to break through martial arts in the world is to be fast? With the bonus of the holy clothes, Lazai's speed has reached about 1.5 Mach, and this speed can easily play with the Mandarin. Of course, the premise is that he needs to block the power of his 10 magic rings first. Seeing that Lazai was about to get close to him, Chu's right middle finger flashed with blue light, and a huge cyclone quickly appeared around his body. The cyclone was like a tornado, and everything around it was rolled in. Lazai stopped in front of the tornado. Although this cyclone might not be able to break through the defense of the holy clothes, if the whole person was rolled in, Lazai might get carsick. I caught a cold and felt terrible. I finally managed to finish coding a chapter. Let's try it first. Master, I can't hold on any longer. Chapter 71 La Shan Shang Long. Being unable to rush in doesn't mean Lazai can't do anything to Chu. After all, the saints rarely fight in close combat. Their favorite way is to stand on both sides and compete to see who can shout louder. Ice Spear White Lotus. It is indeed a bit embarrassing to shout out the name of a move before launching it, but Lazai still did it, because he found a problem. The louder the shout before launching the move, the more powerful the move will be. Is this a bug? Although he was very reluctant, Lazai had to go further and further on the road of output by shouting. Dense ice fangs hit Chu, but once they entered the range of the cyclone, they were taken away from the flight trajectory and scattered in all directions. The speed of the cyclone did not break the speed of sound, but it was still possible to carry the supersonic ice fangs. Chu's body slowly floated up, standing in the air with a look of looking down on everyone. Very strong armor, very powerful attack. I really didn't expect you to be so capable. It seems that it's not a coincidence that you can defeat Zheng Shankai. I still underestimated you. Chu suddenly narrowed his eyes. But the stronger you are, the stronger my determination to destroy you is, and I will never give you the opportunity to grow into my opponent. Hey, Lazai disagreed a little. What do you mean by growing into your opponent? If you have the ability, come down and we will continue to fight. Chu shook his head. I despise you, but it doesn't mean I have to pull myself down to the same level as you to defeat you. I just move my fingers slightly, and you can be wiped out. There is nothing wrong with what he said. The two of them have been fighting for so long, and Chu has only moved his fingers. Chu talked so much nonsense with Lazai, not because he is a hero with a mouth cannon, but because he was thinking about one thing: how to kill Lazai while keeping his armor intact. Although the shape of this set of armor is not satisfactory, it is very strong, and it can even defend against atomic-level destructive power. If the Mandarin puts on the holy clothes, plus his 10 rings and the magic skills he has practiced for more than 80 years, He may grow into a Thanos-like character in this Marvel Cinematic Universe. The entire Avengers combined are not enough to fight him. Lightning and freezing rays cannot break the defense of the holy clothes. It seems that the only thing that can work is the cutting beam on the ring finger of the right hand that can destroy the interatomic force. But the ring needs 20 minutes to cool down. During this time, Chu still has a lot of things to do, such as using the blue-black ring on the little finger of his right hand to create a dark field. All the light in it is absorbed by the magic ring and turned into a huge black space, instantly covering Lazai. Lazai was controlled by the dark force field and lost his vision, becoming a blind man. In the darkness, a beam of light appeared silently. Because of the dark field, Lazai could not see the existence of the beam at all. He only felt vaguely by his sixth sense that when he wanted to dodge, the beam had hit his shoulder armor. Fortunately, he protected his face and time, so his handsome face was preserved. After the beam knocked him to the ground, a strong sound shockwave sounded in the dark force field. Even though Lazai had a small universe to protect his eardrums, he was instantly shocked and had tinnitus and hearing loss. Deprived of 2 of his 5 senses, Lazai became a deaf person in the dark, unable to find the enemy's position, and could only become a passive target. He couldn't stay in here any longer. He didn't know how big the darkness was, but it couldn't cover the whole of New York. Lazai believed that with his supersonic speed, he would be able to rush out soon. Finding a direction, Lazai accelerated his feet and broke through the speed of sound in an instant. The size of the dark force field was indeed not large. With Lazai's speed, he could rush out in less than half a second. But just when he felt that he was about to break through the darkness, a beam of light suddenly hit him and knocked him away. With a bang, the window of the small building was broken, and Lazai fell into the attic, rolling and knocking over the holy clothes box before stopping. Lazai stood up with the holy clothes box, and the blood on the wound on his shoulder flowed down his fingers onto the holy clothes box. After the blood stains were all on the holy cloth box, they were like water soaking into a sponge, and they were instantly absorbed, but no traces could be seen on the surface. In the darkness, Lazai didn't know what happened to the holy cloth box. He was thinking about how to break the situation. It seems that this Mandarin wants to catch him in a trap and strangle him in this dark force field. Standing up, Lazai simply closed his eyes. Since he couldn't see, he simply didn't look at it. At the same time, a faint halo appeared on his body, and his microcosm began to burn violently. As the microcosm burned, Lazai's sixth sense began to be amplified. In the darkness, a ball of light floated in the air in front of him. In the understanding of the Saint Seiya, any skills or magic are just different manifestations of the microcosm. Although Chu couldn't burn and burst out the power in his body, Lazai could feel his existence through the microcosm. Chu also saw the changes in Lazai. He could use special methods to see the surrounding objects in the dark force field. Although he didn't know the existence of the small universe, Chu could also feel the surge of power in Lazai's body. It was obvious that he was holding back a big move, and Chu had a hunch in his heart that the opponent had found his position. Chu naturally would not let Lazai gather strength and peace. Just as the ring on his left ring finger had cooled down, Chu launched it without thinking. Boom! The beam hit Lazai's chest armor directly, not only expanding the original cracks again, but also directly knocking the holy clothes on his body away. Chu smiled. Lazai was able to deal with him for so long thanks to the protection of the holy clothes. Now that the holy clothes were knocked away, what else could he use to block his attack? On Lazai's back, which Chu didn't see, the golden red fire phoenix appeared clearly. Some moves in the Saint Seiya will enhance the combat power after taking off the holy clothes, such as Lushan Shenglongba. A huge oriental dragon flew out of Lazai's hand. The dragon with unparalleled momentum drilled into the cyclone under Chu. The powerful cyclone could not stop it at all. At the cost of blood flowing backwards, the explosive force that could make the Lushan waterfall, which was 3,000 feet high, flow backwards was released. Even Chu dared not resist such an attack. The thumb of his right hand flashed, and the energy of reorganizing matter directly enveloped the dragon head. But this magical energy that could reverse the destruction of the ice spear and white lotus could only slightly slow down the dragon's momentum, and could not completely stop it. Swoosh! The dragon brushed Chu's forehead and flew into the sky, drilling into the dark clouds, leaving the people of New York with an unsolved legend. On Chu's forehead, a blood mark several centimeters long instantly dyed half of his face red. Is it almost there? Lazai half knelt on the ground. It was the first time that he used the Lushan Shenglongba with blood flowing backwards. The feeling after using it was much more painful than the big man with the small universe added to his body by the holy suitcase. If it weren't for Chu's existence, I'm afraid he would have fallen down now. Thank you, helmsman, for the 100 yuan reward of gone in the blink of an eye. If I can hold on, I will update 3 times today. Chapter 72. A Little Lion. Chu was completely furious. He thought he had a sure win, but he didn't expect Lazia to have such a powerful move. For some reason, Chu suddenly said, "This kid must not be left alive." Lazia panted and looked up at Chu in the air. He couldn't help but feel sorry for the blow just now. If he had been a little more off, he would have hit Chu's chin and knocked him out directly. "You bastard." After being disfigured, Chu was no longer the gentle and warm-hearted uncle he had been before. His expression became ferocious, and the veins on his face were bulging. He had the urge to eat Lazai alive. Although Lazai was about to collapse, he couldn't stop, because he knew that stopping meant that he would only become a lamb to be slaughtered. Now he can only hope for the small universe. I hope Lao Che is not lying. As long as the consciousness of the Saint Seiya is still there, the small universe will not be extinguished. Burn, little universe. Before Chu could attack, Lazia shouted out this explosive code that was like "Open the gene lock for me." The energy of his little universe suddenly burned like a flame. The energy was so strong that even Chu, who was dozens of meters away, could feel it. In the energy flame, Lazia stood firmly in a horse stance and put his right hand to his waist. The key point of this move was to concentrate the whole body's strength on one point of his right hand. While attacking, he silently said in his heart, "Majestic Lushan Wu Lao Peak, please give me strength." Lushan Shenglongba. Lazia shouted out with all his strength, stronger and stronger than before, and even the dragon with ice spikes on his body roared out. Chu did not dare to be arrogant anymore. The rings on his hands emitted white energy waves and collided directly with the dragon. Boom! The two attacks collided in the air and were deadlocked for a while. "You are far from defeating me," Chu shouted fiercely, and the energy in his hand suddenly increased. The balance was broken in an instant. The dragon in Lazia's hand was beaten back step by step, and soon it was almost invisible. "Little universe, burn." Lazia's voice was hoarse, but he was still defeated step by step, until the energy of the 10 Commandments hit him and knocked him out. Is it GG like this? Flying in the air, Lazia's consciousness was almost collapsed. His chest was beaten bloody, and if nothing unexpected happened, it would be a failure. Plop! Lazia rolled to the ground. The blood on his body dyed the ground red, and his consciousness was on the verge of collapse. "No, I can't fall down. The Saint Seiya can never be defeated." Little universe, burn. Little universe, burn. In the haze, a warm palm was placed on Lazia's shoulder. "Take a rest. You are already very good." The man waved his hand, and the giant king's cloth automatically disassembled from Lazia's body and turned into a holy cup. Without seeing the man making any movement, water droplets slowly condensed at the bottom of the chalice, and the water droplets gradually increased, and finally gathered into a pool of clear water. "Drink this, and then watch it calmly." "It's not easy for me to come here. You should watch carefully and learn as much as you can." The man looked up at Lazia. His bright face seemed to be emitting sunshine. This man seemed to be a young boy, not tall, but his aura was quite strong. With his hand on the shoulder, Lazia felt as if the whole person became lighter. Turning around, the boy lifted the white cloak behind him, covering the dazzling golden light on his body. Chu watched all this quietly in midair. Since the boy appeared, he didn't dare to make any unnecessary movements, including sneak attacks when he was feeding water to Lazia. Because of the powerful strength of the other party, he didn't even have the confidence to escape. "You didn't sneak attack just now, which makes me reluctant to kill you. In this case, I will punish you lightly and teach you a lesson. I hope you can be more considerate when doing things in the future. If you continue to do bad things, even if I don't take action, The person behind you will definitely punish you and your past sins together. Little kid, what are you bragging about? Chu didn't dare to spit out the groan in his heart, because the other party didn't seem to be bragging. Who are you? Chu couldn't help but ask. Me? The boy smiled and showed 8 white teeth. I am the Saint Zodiac who protects the earth. Are you ready to take it? The boy shouted with a smile, as if smiling was his patent and nothing could take the smile away from his face. Watch it. This sentence was said to Lizian. Lightning speed punch. The golden light shot up into the sky. It seemed that a simple punch tore the dark force field apart, tore the cyclone around Chu, and hit back the energy waves emitted by Chu's 10 rings as if nothing. With just one punch, Chu turned into a stream and flew into the sky, and it was unknown where he landed. How is it? Have you learned it? The boy retracted his fist and looked at Lizian with a smile. Lizian shook his head blankly. Brother, are you crazy? Are the Saint Seiya's moves so easy to learn? The boy grabbed his hair helplessly. No, when my father taught me, I learned it after watching it once. Why can't you learn it? Lizian rubbed the water of the giant king's saint cloth and recovered a little, but it still hurt a little in his chest, and he held back a few words in his heart. You are the previous generation of Leo Gold Saint Regulus, known as the most talented genius among all the Saint Seiyas, who became a gold saint in 2 years, realized the 8th sense at the age of 15, and punched through the heart of the god blood-red Amanthis. Super pervert. How can I compare with you? Wait a minute. Why did the previous generation of Leo Regulus appear? Wasn't the old eggplant Dako from the same era as Seiya? Even if Leo appeared, it should be Aeolia. So what secrets are hidden in this holy cloth box? But Regulus is so cute, I feel like I should go up and touch his head. Over there. Regulus grabbed his hair and looked back in the direction where Chu left. What should I do? I can't demonstrate it again, and I don't have much time. After the dark force field disappeared, Lizian's vision was restored. Looking from his direction, he found that Regulus did not seem to be a physical entity. Through his body, he could see the holy cloth box behind him with golden light. So who can explain to me what the hell is going on? Could it be that? Lizian didn't dare to think about it any further, because if it was really as he imagined, he would be the king of this Marvel world in no time, and he was a little excited when he thought about it. Regulus had already tied his hair into a knot. What should I do? It's rare for me to come out. If I go back like this, they will laugh at me to death. Lizian stepped forward and hugged Regulus in his arms. Senior, it's great to meet you. You guys. Regulus was moved by Lizian's affectionate words, and reached out to gently push him to somersaults. Well, I'm not interested in hugging Gonan, thank you. A gust of cold wind blew, and Lizian was frozen and sloppy. It seems that I have overestimated myself a little. Chapter 73, Sheep in the Tiger's Mouth. Lizian blushed and pulled a curtain to wrap herself up. This little brat must be jealous of me. Yes, that's for sure. Seeing that Regulus' body seemed to be fading, Lizian hurriedly stepped forward. Senior, are you here just to teach me the lightning fist? This seems to be difficult to learn. Why don't you teach me the single-player version of Athena's Wonder? Isn't that easier to learn? And the point is that you see I'm alone now, and there's no way to get 3 people together to launch the shadow battle method. Regulus said with some embarrassment. I can teach you the single-player version of yeah. Lizian nodded frantically. Regulus continued, but the premise is that you need to comprehend the 7th sense to reach the level of a gold saint. And, Regulus paused, and Lizian hurriedly asked, and what? Senior. Lizian stood there and looked around blankly, but there was no trace of Regulus around. Time has come. What a ripoff. Lizian pulled up the curtain around her waist and slammed it to the ground. Why is it always like this? Can't I just get out of here quickly? Just when he was about to step on it a few times to vent his anger, a light suddenly came from a distance, covering the naked Lizian. That, sir, we are the New York Police Department. Please don't be impulsive. No matter what happens, we promise to guarantee your personal safety. A voice came from the loudspeaker. It was the police who discovered the abnormality here and came late. Half an hour later, Lizian was sitting in the recording room of the police station, dressed neatly. Sitting opposite was an acquaintance, Sheriff George Stacy. "Uncle George, as a sheriff, you must be very busy. How dare you trouble me to come and take my statement in person? Just send someone else." He. Facing Sheriff George's sharp gaze, Lizia's dark color was a little unnatural. "If it weren't for Gwen, I wouldn't care about you. A violent masturbator, staying up late at night and walking around the house tearing down the house for fun." There was no evidence of a second person being present at the scene. Although this statement was ridiculous, it was the explanation closest to the truth. "No, Uncle George, I didn't tear down the house myself. I was attacked." "Attacked?" Lizia defended herself loudly. "A guy comparable to a terrorist attacked me. I can provide a portrait and suggest that the relevant departments arrest him immediately." Lizia opened her chest. "Really, I'm not lying to you. I'm still injured. If you don't believe me, look." Sheriff George looked at Lizia's chest without saying anything. Lizia looked down and saw that the injury on her chest had recovered as before. "This is fucking. Is the recovery effect of the giant lord's cloth so good? Help me destroy all the evidence." Lizia put on her clothes helplessly. "Okay, whatever you say is what it is." Sheriff George shook his head. "It's not my decision. The United States is about law and evidence." Name. It was past midnight when they finished taking notes, and George drove Lizia home. Lizia's small building was already dilapidated and could not be lived in. "We will notify the landlord of the small building, and you will have to pay for the repairs. Do you understand?" George said to Lizia before entering the door. Lizia nodded. "Okay, I have to take the blame for this. Chew was beaten up like a gray wolf, and who knows if he will come back. Also," Sheriff George pressed the door handle, "I'm taking you in for one night just out of humanitarianism, and you have to leave before dawn, and don't harass Gwen. Understand?" Lizia nodded. "He brought his daughter's boyfriend home and didn't let them meet. He is indeed a father." If Gwen was a man and Lizia was a woman, he might have taken him directly to the room. Lying on the bed in the guest room, Lizia recalled the clips of Regulus' appearance, hoping to find some clues from them to unlock the secret of the holy vestment box. Unfortunately, he did not see his blood seeping into the holy vestment box. Without the key steps, it would be difficult to study it. Moreover, the holy vestment box was opened twice, and the conditions for opening it were different each time. Even if Lizia went back to drip blood, he might not be able to get anything. After fighting all night, although he had recovered from the holy vestment cup, Lizia was still a little tired, and he almost fell asleep in a daze. Ding dong, a text message came on the phone. Lizia took it out and saw that it was Gwen. "Are you sleeping in our guest room now?" "No," Lizia replied. Although the opportunity was excellent, he just wanted to sleep at this time. "My father just told my mother, and I heard it. It was you in the guest room, you liar." Soon, Gwen's message came again. "Okay, you win. I'm in the guest room, but I'm leaving before dawn. Your dad won't let me meet you." Lizia replied with all her strength. After waiting for a long time, there was no new news. Just when Lizia was about to fall asleep, the door suddenly opened with a click. Lizia woke up instantly and sat up to speak, but the man opposite raised his hand and blocked his voice with a white net. "Is Parker here to avenge my wife?" Lizia's mind flashed with Parker's angry look when he knew that he and Gwen were originally a couple, but Lizia intervened and pried Gwen away. "No, this person's body shape doesn't look like Parker." After a spider silk flew out, the figure came to Lizia gracefully, exuding an elegant aura with every step. "This person." Lizia sniffed it. It seemed to be Gwen's smell, and the walking posture was also very similar to Gwen, but the steps were lighter and the heartbeat was stronger. Gwen was wearing a black and white tights, with a spider mesh mask on her head and a wide hood. This outfit was exactly the same as Spider-Gwen in the comics. "What's going on? How did Gwen become a spider? Am I dreaming?" Lizia wanted to close his eyes, but Gwen jumped on him. "Tell me who is the most beautiful woman in the world. If you say it wrong, I will let you die here today." Gwen deliberately lowered her voice and said. Lizia did not answer, but hugged her with both hands. The amazing elasticity and curves between her waist and abdomen amazed him. Gwen's figure was originally very good, and now her body, which was strengthened for some reason, has also improved greatly. Apart from anything else, the two things pressing on her chest feel not much smaller than those of Black Widow. Lazia's body flipped violently, and he performed the one-finger zen that he had practiced for many years. An extra chapter for the helmsman's passing away in the blink of an eye. It's amazing that I actually survived. I have to take 2 more pills tomorrow. Chapter 74 Sage Time. Remember Dr. Connor's experiment? Lazia nodded. Cross-species inheritance? Well, I found some problems while cooperating with the doctor's experiment. Before studying reptiles and lizards, the doctor had studied spiders with Parker's father, Richard Parker, for a period of time, and it was the descendants of those spiders that bit Parker and caused him to mutate. The BGM of elementary school students sounded in Lazia's mind, and then Gwen continued. From this, I came up with a bold idea. The problem of Dr. Connor's lizard serum rejection may be genetic rejection. Then, I secretly tested Parker's and those spiders' DNA, and found that some of their gene fragments were the same. From this, I came up with a guess that Richard Parker used his own DNA when he bred spiders, so Peter Parker became a superhero after being bitten, while other staff members who were accidentally bitten would only have fever, infection and other discomfort symptoms. After that, I spent 3 months to breed a spider modified with my own genes, and let it bite me. You really are. Lazia was shocked and didn't know what to say. Scientists are really crazy. They dare to use this unproven experiment on themselves. What Gwen said was just a guess. What if she guessed wrong? Crazy, right? I think it's crazy too, but it doesn't matter. If I guessed wrong, at most I would just get sick. The spiders bred in the laboratory are non-toxic, but the result is that I guessed right. Lazia had already experienced this result in the battle just now. Fortunately, she was not an ordinary person, otherwise she would have died. So, you asked Parker to help you make the spider silk launcher? Yeah, it wouldn't take much effort for him to make a few more anyway. This guy, it turns out he knew it a long time ago, but he didn't say anything when he saw me yesterday. I wanted to give you a surprise. How about it? Are you happy or not? Thank you for the 100 yuan reward from the helmsman Bull washing you. I owe you an update, let me make it up tomorrow. Thank you for the reward from O_ye_. Thank you all for your support and encouragement. Thank you. Chapter 75. Luzu arrives. Back in the small building, Lazia simply packed his things, and then went out with the holy suitcase on his back. The small building was temporarily uninhabitable, and he needed to find a new place to stay. By the way, should I buy a house? Otherwise, moving around all the time is not a solution. Lazia looked at the rising sun and thought to himself, where is the best location in New York? The first one is of course Manhattan. It is said that any house there starts at tens of millions, and it is in US dollars. Maybe the center of the universe, Woodeku, can be learned. By the way, in Manhattan, Stark Industries can actually build a building by itself. It is really rich. So, if you want to have your own house, you still need money. Regarding making money, Lazia had considered several plans before, such as helping Dr. Lizard perfect the serum and helping Harry Osborn treat blood diseases. But the selling point of these two things is the same, that is, the method used by Richard Parker, using his own genes to cultivate super animals, and then feeding the super genes back to himself. However, both of these things are risky. Although Dr. Lizard said that his starting point was to heal his broken arm, after the treatment, there is no guarantee that he will have the idea of ruling the world. Gwen has turned into a spider, so what else is impossible? Harry's situation is even more serious. He is the son of an arms dealer. He has been influenced by his father since he was a child, so it is inevitable that— Wait a minute. Lazia suddenly thought of a question. Harry might really be able to fight for it. Although his father is an arms dealer, he has lived in a boarding school since he was a child. From the plot in the movie where he and Parker recognized each other, we can see that he still retains a childlike heart. If it weren't for the genetic disease hanging over his head like a butcher's knife, he shouldn't have turned into the Green Goblin. Gwen's experimental results have not been told to anyone yet, so maybe we can create a time difference. One piece of news in exchange for a house in Manhattan. It's not too much. Of course, the most profitable way is to find Tony Stark. Selling water to treat diseases and providing clues to new elements can earn a lot of money. But it's still early before Tony's condition worsens, so there's no rush. Are you going to find a place to stay, Mr. Lazia? A deep voice came from the shadows beside him. Lazia turned around and saw that there was no one there, only a black and white thing that looked like an eyeball floating in the air. Nice to meet you. Let me introduce myself, the voice in the shadows continued. Lazia looked carefully and found that there was actually a person standing in the shadows, a black man in a black leather jacket. It's no wonder that Lazia couldn't see him. It was because the color of that person had merged with the shadows. If Lazia hadn't experienced the sixth sense, he might not have noticed it. Brother, come forward. It's weird to see an eyeball talking there. The black man paused and walked out of the shadows with a normal expression, but he was a one-eyed boiled egg. I really admire the first person who used a boiled egg to describe the director. It's so damn appropriate. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nick Fury, and I'm the director of SYNOPSIS. Lazia turned around and faced Director Luju. My name is Lazia, a saint from the sanctuary. Nice to meet you, Director Fury. Nick Fury's brain froze for a few seconds. Sanctuary? What kind of organization is this? Why didn't Romanov's investigation report and the intelligence he collected from secret channels mention this term? He recalled the image taken by the spy satellite last night. A boy with golden light all over his body punched a man hundreds of miles away. The boy's clothes seemed to be very similar to the armor Lazia was wearing. So, these magical armors all belong to an organization called Sanctuary, and the Lazia in front of him is likely to be the person sent by this organization to travel. So when he encounters danger, there will be more powerful people to support him. In this way, the strength of this sanctuary may not be small, and it may even have the power to destroy a country. Needless to say, just the little golden man last night, if there were more of them, the entire US military would have to kneel down. Lazia didn't know that Nick Fury could imagine so many things in his mind after hearing a word. Otherwise, he would definitely remind Mr. Director that your idea is too optimistic. There didn't need to be many little lions last night, just one was enough to make the earth kneel down. However, Lazia also thought about one thing clearly. Since Director Fury has come to the door, it is obvious that he has already obtained considerable evidence and cannot deny his identity. In this case, instead of explaining it with a heartache, it is better to admit it freely and pull out the tiger skin of Sanctuary as a banner, and bluff for as long as possible. Sanctuary? After all, Nick Fury has experienced the world, and he recovered from the state of being frozen in an instant. Excuse me, is the Sanctuary a place or an organization? Lazia thought for a moment. It counts as both, but we in the Sanctuary don't often appear on Earth, so not many people know about it. Just like the Kunlun in the Marvel world, it is both a place and an organization headed by the Jade Emperor. Lazia's words were quickly interpreted by Nick Fury. The Sanctuary exists in a space independent of the Earth. It is a powerful organization. They can travel between the Sanctuary and Earth, but they rarely come into contact with people. I have to say that Director Ludon's imagination is very close to the truth. Thinking of this, Nick Fury frowned. If that's the case, then why would they send the Saints to appear on Earth? The Saints should be the warriors of the Sanctuary. What is the purpose of the Saints' appearance? Looking at Nick Fury's uncertain expression, Lazia coughed lightly. Director Fury, I haven't asked you yet, what do you want to talk to me about? Of course I want to invite you to join the Avengers. Fury couldn't utter the words. If the appearance of the Saint CE really has some purpose, then wouldn't his actions be inviting a wolf into the house? But on second thought, if he wants to catch fish, he can't be afraid of getting his clothes wet. He is Nick Fury, the director of SHIELD. If he is scared by an organization he has never heard of and dares not tell the truth, then what kind of director is he? He should turn into ashes as soon as possible. I came here this time to extend an invitation to you. Our SHIELD is about to set up a new department called the Avengers Alliance. This organization really needs extraordinary people like you to join. The Avengers Alliance affiliated with SHIELD, Lazia thought to himself, as expected, but pretended not to know on his face. Is it an organization that specializes in cleaning up the butts of those criminals? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.